They're good kitties. I'll show you some pictures when we take a break.
Yes, please.
All right, we'll get started.
Oh, no way. Oh my God. No way. Oh my God.
Welcome, everybody, to episode 128 of 1 Million of the Serial Chillers podcast. As always, I ask, how goes it? Hella Greg.
I wasn't sure if it was going to work or not. I'm like always, dude, I'm fucking cool, man.
Feeling good on a Saturday afternoon.
Yeah.
Yeah. I am, Lord. Okay, I'm here with Paige and Danielle, a couple first-timers, and we'll get back to you guys in a moment. But first, let me explain how the show works for anybody that doesn't know. Each week, I sit down with old friends, new friends, good friends, and bad friends to tell the story of an infamous serial killer, something true crime, dark, creepy, unsolved, or otherwise mysterious. If something isn't clear, be sure to chime in, because if you have questions about questions, be sure to ask questions, because I cannot answer questions about questions if you never ask questions. Are there any questions?
No questions, Your Honor.
Oh,
No.
Beautiful. Then welcome to and let's play the Serial Chillers podcast. We know it's loud, but that's to get you fucking pumped up.
I'm ready.
Today's episode, tell me, have you guys heard of the West Memphis 3?
Oh, hell yeah.
You picked a good one today.
Yeah.
Yes.
It
yes,
is a good one.
Yes.
I will say, this case could be, because you guys are aware, 50 episodes. Like literally, you could dedicate a podcast to the West Memphis 3. You could pick like.
Is that not what we just did?
I mean a
That's what
serial.
we're
here for.
Like you could do 5 seasons on West Memphis. You could literally pick. Okay, here's this little thing, and you could do an hour on it. And there are hundreds of things that are like that. We're gonna give you the overarching story
The meat
here.
and potatoes.
That's what we do here at Serial Chillers Podcast. Remember, if you're using this show for research, don't. So I'm glad you guys are both aware. If you've watched the show a couple times, you'll know this is how it works. Question number 1. Pens are right there. Paper's right there.
I want purple.
In what year did this crime take place? It's 250 points to the closest. It's 1,000 if you can nail it. Danielle's got her answer. Paige has got hers.
Yes.
What do you say, Paige?
1982.
1982.
That's what I said.
Is it really? What's it say on there? Show me. Come on.
I swear
You
to God.
guys, hive mind. Let's give them both 250 points. You were
Please, what is it?
1993.
Holy crap.
Yes.
Why did I think it was in the 80s?
It's 250 each.
Yes, please. And with that, we'll do full guest intros, and we'll go left to right here since nobody won the question. Welcome for the first time ever, Danielle.
Hello.
I heard you were drug here by Paige.
Yeah, I kind of just got a text and I was like, hey, we're doing a podcast. And I was like, okay.
Let's go.
Sick. What's it about? Hopefully something normal.
yeah. Whoops.
Well, I hate to tell you.
Well, welcome in, Paige, mastermind of this.
Hello.
Yeah. I put something on my personal Instagram, which I don't use ever, and just said, hey, fuckers, I need people to be on this show. Literally the only person to reply. Thank you.
I am.
And here they are. Well, welcome, you guys. And you're tied right off the bat. So look at, you guys were worried about not scoring. First question,
Score.
you tied both on the board. Anxiety
10
broken.
years
right?
off, but we're here.
Yeah.
Hey, sometimes people are 100 years off.
We are here and ready to go.
Maybe it's just like because of how shitty they handled it.
Yeah.
I just assumed it
My
was
brain
like,
doesn't remember because they're so stupid.
Or maybe you don't know the case like you thought you did. No, you
mind is
probably do.
My
You
mind is
probably
blown.
do. Let me give a couple of shout outs on this really quick. Again, I can't even count how many times Kelly G has come through. Kelly G sent me an email, I don't know, a couple months ago and said, yo, I have a list for research assistants, like subjects, you know? And she was like, hey, this isn't on the list, but do you mind if I get you an outline on the West Memphis 3, and I was like, Kelly G,
You have carte blanche. Do what you want.
yeah, please shut the fuck up and do whatever you want. You are pretty much a god around here.
Yeah, she's done.
I want to say this is the 6th outline we've used this season that Kelly G's put together.
All certified bangers.
All
Kelly,
certified bangers.
Thank you. You're amazing.
And I think 3 of those 6, I literally added almost nothing but my own commentary to. It was sometimes we'll collaborate a little more and I'll put some stuff in.
Is this one of those where you?
Yeah, I definitely, because this is a case I've always been pretty fast.
One?
This is a very.
Oh.
This is like a very. This one is one where, like, if you had HBO in the 90s,
hell yeah,
you might have accidentally caught some of these very disturbing documentaries. And it was like one of the very early cases that got me into true crime.
Oh, so this was on Real Sex.
Yeah, damn, how'd you know? Thank you, Kelly G, for doing what you do.
Thank you.
Jeez, God, thank you so much.
Bad bitch.
She's literally gotten me out of binds before because I've been like, fuck, what am I going to do? And I'm like, oh my God, I have 2 Kelly G outlines. All right, pull up. Yes!
Coming through. Constantly coming through.
And she's just like so amazing because when she first talked about wanting to help us, I was like, look, we don't like make money or anything. And she was like, dude, if you guys ever blow up, I was like, oh, done, fucking done. Like you're coming with us, Kelly G.
Come back with me.
Enjoy these coattails. So, references. I'm going to put a warning out here for both of these documentaries. Well, I guess I should say all 4, but if you've seen them, you know. If you haven't, you need to know. If you watch any of the ones I'm about to mention, you are going to see the bodies of dead children. It's there. It's all brief. It's not a very like in depth. It's never on it for more than a second or 2. But if that's something that like you don't want to see, skip these because it just kind of pops up too. The first one, Paradise Lost, it literally starts with what Metallica song is? I can't even remember now.
I
think it's Sanitarium.
Oh,
probably.
And it's literally just crime scene photos. So it starts with it. It literally starts with it with Sanitarium playing.
Literally like going in
dead
raw.
8-year-olds.
Are you sure you want to watch this?
So just so you guys know, Kelly G actually asked me to put a warning in, and I would have done it anyway.
I can fucking hear Sanitarium in my head.
Yes, these are maybe like throw 3 seconds of Sanitarium right here if you can.
For
anybody that doesn't know. Yeah.
Who decided that?
Oh, that was Joe Berlinger and Bruce Sinofsky.
Oh, well, Joe, fuck you.
So they actually did 3 Paradise Lost. It kind of like every time there was a big move or change in the case, a new Paradise Lost was made.
Why did Metallica let their music get used for that?
Metallica was all about it, bro. They're like, as long as you're not downloading it illegally, you Napster pieces of shit.
Aren't they like super weird about like their songs too?
Yeah,
that they chose that.
If you steal them.
Like, come on.
Yeah.
What's his name? Papa
Lars Ulrich.
Hetfield? My mom wants to have his babies.
Well, hey, I'm not. He might be just like blowing dust at this point.
He probably is.
Yeah.
Cool with that, James Hetfield? Yeah.
James Hetfield, if you're listening to this, my mom loves you.
All right. Well, James Hetfield, if you're a fan, like holler at us. Also, where the fuck you at on the Patreon?
Put his name in the description. He'll see it when he'll see it on
Hetfield.
Google Alerts.
James Hetfield, I feel like you could do the $10,000 a month level, and we will take you to Disneyland. It's on there. $10,000 a month. We'll take you to Disneyland.
Imagine James Hetfield paying us $10,000 a month to take him to Disneyland.
I mean, look.
I'm here for my Disneyland trip.
Yeah. Let's go, buddy.
I'm ready.
Okay, so Paradise Lost 1, 2, and 3. They're all quite graphic. They all tell quite a different story. It sort of follows both the opinions of the documentary makers, but the public perception, and you get a lot of good angles from it. So if you've seen them, you'll know they're very, very good documentaries. Kelly G writes about it. That's a 3-part documentary series HBO created as part of the America Undercover series. They were made as the story unfolded. The first one was released in 96, the second in 2000, and the third in 2011. If you're going to watch Paradise Lost, be prepared to see things you will never see again. Also be prepared to be sad and mad. You will see the bodies of children and the crime scene footage. It isn't fake. It's fucked. Also, West of Memphis documentary by Amy Berg. That came out in 2012. That one... they flash a little. They're in there, but it's not so like on display.
When you say they flash, is it like a strobe effect where you just see a bunch
of? It almost is. It's almost like it's like done up for dramatic. It'll like you'll kind of see some of the crime scene photos. So yes and no, you will see them. You will see them, but it's less like camera over them slowly panning
like,
shit.
Look at this for good 5 seconds.
Take it in. Drink it in, America.
When I can watch several flies land and leave, It's
No.
been on it too long.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I do know what you mean.
Yeah. So that
know
one's
exactly
called
what you mean.
that one's called West of Memphis. It is great. If you're interested in the case, check it out. It does bring a lot of things to light. True Crime Garage podcast, Truth and Justice podcast, BuzzFeed News article, and our favorite, the King, God of all gods, Wikipedia. Thank you so much for that. Also, you guys know how to find us: Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Threadless store for soft goods. Our sticker stores on our website, serialchillerspod.com for everything. Like we were talking about with James Hetfield, if you guys want to give to the show, throw a little money at us. Everything has a reward. Literally every tier you give at, we give something back. In fact, let me give a shout out to Danae from Bakersfield for her donation this recent month. We appreciate the Patreon. Danae was actually on the show, and now she's a Patreon patron. So
Bing,
we
bang,
got
boom.
that
It's that
too.
simple.
You don't have to be on the show to do it, but if that's what it takes, let us know. We'll fucking get you fuckers on here. Maybe
They
we'll
won't
make
take
that a
you to
reward.
Disneyland.
We'll swap it out. If you want to be on the show instead of Disneyland, $10,000 a month. Pew, 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 pew.
The only person that they're taking to Disneyland is Papa Het.
Yeah, now I feel like we need to manifest this. I don't even like
manifesting.
Metallica that much, but I just need to fucking do this.
That's the thing.
Manifesting.
Hey, we said we were going to take you to Disneyland, but I just want you to know, Saint Anger sucked.
I'm just being real.
Everything before that was cool. Saint Anger sucked.
Also, if you're not into the idea of giving monthly, you just go to serialchillerspod.com. There's a little link tree and then a donation link. If you want to give us like $1 one time, dude, we will accept it and appreciate it. Nothing is expected. It's all appreciated. If you want to send us any cool drugs or explosives or anything, remember P.O. Box 1229, Clovis, California, 93613. If they are over a danger level of 7.5, that is attention at Hella Greg. Again, serialchillerspod.com for all of this information. Okay.
If you're into extortion, lonelyfans.com with 2 Z's.
Two Z's. Two.
The best part is that people don't think that's real. It is. We own it. Check it out.
If you're into extortion.
Otherwise, read on. Thank you.
Well, go to it anyway. I mean, if you're not into extortion, it just makes it
we
easier.
can do some web traffic, guys. I'm sure it'll help the algorithm in some way. Okay, so the story begins in West Memphis, Arkansas. As Greg said earlier, no matter how far you go in Memphis, you're not in Arkansas. But this is West Memphis, so different city, but easily confused.
It's
Greg,
like
huh?
a Kansas City thing, isn't it?
Yeah, sure.
Because that's in Missouri, not Kansas.
Yep. But there's also one in Kansas.
See, that's stupid. Who named this shit?
So it starts in West Memphis, Arkansas, just behind the Blue Beacon truck wash.
Bunch of fucking idiots, that's who.
This is alongside one of the most traveled freeways in the U.S., Interstate 40, and it is called Robin Hood Hills, and it is a 4-acre patch of wood. Now, Kelly G gave me a picture of this. I didn't bring it up here, but you guys can look this up if you want. 4 acres. You live on a little bit of land, yeah?
Yeah, I have 8 acres.
Okay, so 4
Danielle has
acres.
50.
It does sound big, and it is. But when you're thinking of a forest, 4 acres isn't like a forest. It is a...
Is it dense?
It is. There's a creek that runs through it, but think of like a grocery store parking lot full of trees. Like that's more the size we're talking about here, you know? Like that's I think a lot of people that know the case think that it happened in some like dense forest away from everything. Yeah, it was off the interstate, but if you look at the photograph, I would say less than a quarter mile away is like a tract of homes from this forest. And even closer to that is the actual truck, the Blue Beacon. So while it is often described as a forest, it is very much like a large lot with...
It's barely woods.
Barely. Like Robin Hill... What was it called again? So many names. That's the other thing about this case.
Lots of names.
I have notes right here just so I could keep like the victims and the main suspects' names straight in my head because my daughters thought I was going crazy because I'll do like Post-its of names just for reminders and I'll stick them to the wall by my desk. There was like 90 this week.
Yeah, there's
and
a
they're like,
lot.
Dad, what is this? Like, shut up and don't look at any of
Don't
it.
touch it.
Don't
Have you
read any of this.
Have you ever seen Memento? It's that.
You don't want to be around me right now.
It's like the Always Sunny when he has all the like.
Yes,
things
that's
on
exactly what I felt like. It's just a very fucking wacky Charlie. I didn't have any cool red string though.
Should have called, man.
Sorry. So, again, 4 acres. When a lot of people know the case and they hear forest, they hear woods, it does sound like it's a lot bigger than it is. It's not. It is a pretty small area where, like, if there is nowhere you can stand on a 4 acre lot and scream, that somebody who was near the 4-acre lot wouldn't hear you. Does that make sense? Even with that many trees, sound is likely
Going to travel.
getting to the other side of it for sure.
I still think it's big enough for me to get lost in.
Well, listen,
Greg's just out there like
fucking stony baloney. I don't disagree with you. Okay, so in 1993, again, we say 3 8-year-old boys named Christopher Byers, Stevie Branch, and Michael Moore were murdered. This happens a lot. We were just laughing very hard. That's very serious. That's the duality of man, guys. Welcome to the Serial Killers podcast.
His name was Michael Moore?
Yeah. Before the famous filmmaker was really doing his damn thing, too. They were second graders at Weaver Elementary, and all 3 had achieved wolf status in the Cub Scouts.
Is that like
good for them?
The step above, we below?
Yeah, it's like they had a yellow belt,
Wait, they give belts in Cub Scouts?
No, I'm just like comparing it, like a white belt's like, yeah, I go to karate.
Wait, which one does the cookies?
The Girl Scouts?
Yeah. So
Was that an actual question?
he knows.
Give her points.
It's a character he plays that's dumb.
Give me
Okay,
points.
So Wolf is second grade in Cub Scouts.
Okay.
That's what it is.
So you literally are just in second grade.
Yeah, Lion Cub is kindergarten, Bobcat, Tiger is first grade, Wolf is second grade, Bear is third grade, Webelos is fourth and fifth grade, and then you go on to the Arrow of Light.
I see.
I was gonna say that sounds hard as fuck.
Well, I think, if I'm
like
not
black
mistaken,
belt
these are the levels in which you kind of just graduate with age, and once you get
That's
into,
what I'm saying.
yeah, the other ones you have
Arrow
to
of
like
Light.
be doing certain things to get there. Okay, so they're second graders. They're wolves. They would go missing on June 5th, 1993. They would come home after school, and there are several witness accounts during this time that place them like not going missing from school. Some are credible, some are not. One of which is the mother of Stevie Branch, who claims that she saw all 3 boys right after school. She got Stevie home, and that is when Michael came over. Stevie and Michael were like begging her, let us go play. And she was about to go to work in like an hour. And she tells him like, just fuck, whatever, go. But you better have your ass back here in an hour. I'm gonna whoop it when, if you're not.
If the streetlights come on and you're not home.
And when you think about like tough Arkansas mamas, like everybody in these documentaries are all tough Arkansas mamas. Like they whip your damn ass, no problem.
Yep.
Right here, right now.
My grandpa's from Arkansas.
Yeah, like
I can attest.
It's the accent is so pure. Like these are like
Winders.
these are very
The vehicle. Yeah. I gotta go get some fuel.
You put oil in the truck.
Baby.
Oil.
Baby, did you change the oil in the truck?
So Stevie and Michael went riding bikes. They left about 4. He was supposed to be back about 4:30. Chris would swing by Stevie's right after that looking for the pack. Mom's like, oh, I can't believe you didn't see them. They just left a minute ago. He turns and looks at the TV and sees there's a TV show on and goes, hey, can I watch the rest of this? And, listen.
Me, right there.
A lot of you
can ride bikes to catch up with your friends, or you can just stay here and watch TV.
Well, listen, too. A lot of you don't know this. In 1993, you couldn't just like watch that episode later.
No.
If that was an episode
you
you wanted
but
to
it was going to be 6 months later in
Right.
syndication.
And you would hope that you got the TV guide that week to tell you it was going to be that episode or whatever. Yeah, so if you saw an episode you wanted to see, you're fucking sitting to see it. Question number 2. What was that show? Was it A, The Animaniacs, B, The Muppet Babies, C, Two Stupid Dogs, or D, Rocco's Modern Life?
God.
And I always research these questions. All of these shows were either airing or in syndication in 1993. So you would have been able to watch any of these in 93. Animaniacs, Muppet Babies, Two Stupid Dogs, or Rocco's Modern Life.
Keep your eyes to yourself.
All classics.
You could do A, B, C, or D, too. You don't have to write out the answer. Okay, what'd you say, Danielle?
I have no clue, so I said Two Stupid Dogs.
Two Stupid Dogs. It was a good show. What'd you say, Paige?
Animaniacs.
Animaniacs, also a good show. Neither of those are the answers.
Well.
It was an episode of The Muppet Babies, which was a
And
slapper
that's the
of
one that I
a
was
cartoon.
like, no way.
Muppet Babies, you make your dream come true.
This is now a Muppet Babies podcast.
Yeah. Shit, man. I'll fuck with some hints and conspiracies. I think you might get me if we go down that path.
Some Jim Henson.
Like that he took the Muppet song from some French adult movie.
Oh.
The Mana do 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 do. That came from like some French adult movie.
Oh,
See,
okay,
this
Jim.
is the reason I listen to Serial Killers podcast.
We give you the real truth.
So, Chris comes. He's like, holy shit, I love this episode of Muppet Babies. Can I watch it?
It's the one where he flushes the roll of toilet paper.
Toilet paper go down the hole. He asked if he could watch. She said yes. And after that, he left to presumably catch up with Stevie and Michael.
You're like 30 minutes behind now.
Whatever, man. You know what I mean, like, we lived these days. Like, you fucking get on your bike and like, whatever, I'll find him if I don't. I got to ride my bike for 40 minutes tonight.
Dog,
like,
I did not have friends like that.
That's true. You were a loser. So
You saw my yearbook.
yeah, that was funny. So after that, Chris's mom was on the phone around 5:30, and she heard him come in and out several times. So at least Chris has come to his house since he left the house after Muppet Babies around 4:30. Chris's stepdad, John Mark Byers, which if you've seen any of them, you're familiar with John Mark Byers. He's like a very, hey, is there a camera? Let me get in front of it kind of guy.
Thousands of dollars of sushi. Comped.
I mean, like, he's worse. He's worse.
Wow.
Because, like, he's everywhere. A camera is everywhere. I truly think he's an innocent dude, but he's one of those guys
He does
who, like,
a bad job of being an innocent.
well,
dude.
yeah, like, some people do a better job being innocent by, like, shutting the fuck up and not saying things. And then some people sound innocent because they're like, here, logically is why I'm innocent.
He doesn't
John Mark
neither of
Byers
those.
probably should chill the fuck out. He's
He
not
should
one of the
just
one
shut
winning
the
the
fuck
intelligence contest.
Oh, he's not a thinker, eh?
Let the evidence do its job, buddy. Okay, thanks. So at some point, Chris would leave the house without permission because he's supposed to be home. His mom heard him at 5:30 coming in and out. He knows 6 o'clock, it's cut off. You need to be home, dinner, and all that shit. So his mom believes while she was on the phone, he snuck out, going riding the bikes with the boys. She recalls seeing the three boys together and then, sorry, let's take one step back here.
Rewind.
John Mark Byers came home and he saw Chris riding his skateboard on his belly in the street. There's some up and down about this, whether or not John Mark Byers may have spanked Chris for doing that because he told him, like, you can't be doing that shit. You fall forward, you bust your face. Or he just yelled at him, told him not to do it.
Or you run over your fucking thumbs.
My brother had the catfish stitches because he fell and hit his chin
Right on
going
the
forward.
chin.
Yep.
Yep.
I just crushed my thumbs every time I
Yeah,
tried
that's
to.
a terrible, terrible move too. Either way, it's something that you add to the story because if there's somebody being aggressive towards one of these kids the night that they die, it's something that bears mentioning.
Well, and it sounds like he may have been one of the last people to see them.
Right. I mean the whooping part, not just
yeah.
the seeing them part.
I think they're both valid parts of the story. If you're going to see him, whoop them.
Well, and again, because I don't have any confirmation that there for sure was a whooping.
Oh.
But we do know that one of the neighbors, mom saw them all riding their bikes at 6:30, and the neighbor, what was her name, Jamie Ballard, I believe, recalls seeing three boys together and being called over by Terry Hobbs, the stepfather of Stevie. Now, Terry Hobbs, another stepfather, like John Michael Byers, who was actually a stepdad who became an adoptive father, like he illegally adopted Chris, but
Did you say he legally adopted?
he legally, but there was a hitch in my voice for sure, and I was like, Greg's gonna ask if I said illegally.
He
legally adopted Christopher. So
That's mine.
Terry Hobbs, a lot more. I'll go hide in the corner. John Michael Byers is doing his thing. I don't need to do this.
This guy's making us all look bad.
Yeah, I mean, kind of, but he's also like making himself look so bad that I don't need to worry about nothing. So the autopsy said that Stevie we're going to kind of bounce around between some stuff because I've got some facts, I've got some narrative, but there's some stuff that was like, I want to come back to this, but I'm going to fucking forget and I don't know where to interject it. So this isn't completely chronological, which is generally how we do it. But Kelly G also writes she writes them really well, like stories. So I never want to break that apart too much. So you're gonna kind of get a little bit of me writing my parts in about it, and Kelly G's genius. So there is a witness that says she saw Stevie's stepdad Terry Hobbs. Again, we say that he's also important. Just after Michael's mom's sighting, the cops didn't canvass her though, so she tells people about 15 years later about that. Like, we know the West Memphis 3 case is gonna become famous. She claims that she was a kid at the time, which she was, and she also assumed that the police knew that information, as she assumed Terry had been spoken to and would have told them about seeing the boys at 6:30. So she's like a kid. She's like, well, yeah, it's their stepdad. Like, they would have talked to him.
Yeah.
They would have known about this event. I don't need to just go to the police. And they They never went to the fucking next door neighbor of a missing kid to be like, hey, see anything, out of the ordinary tonight? Or
So
just
it's
see him
just
at
going to
all?
be one of those cases where we just applaud them for their stellar police work the entire time.
Oh, buddy.
Stellar.
Again, we're not anti-police
Top
here,
tier.
but Jesus fucking Christ
It's like not
almighty.
even a issue of anti-police or not. They were fucking stupid.
Yeah, and it was, we'll see. It's very like, the criminal justice system works.
In mysterious ways.
What is it? You're innocent until you're proven guilty. This was a modern day witch hunt.
Oh,
this was worse than Salem. This is like,
Innocence
Don't
wasn't even
oversell
an
it. Let me hear the
all
story.
right. Fair. Well,
Grace,
but
shut up.
because you're getting a condensed version, like I truly think you should watch Paradise Lost. Because I know the beginning won't traumatize you. I know what you've seen. It is fucked. But you don't need to watch 2 and 3 to just know this case and the crime. Watch the first one.
Okay.
For real. So
I have
let's see.
HBO Max too, so
You've watched it on too. Like, whatever. Watch it. But it is still on HBO.
I'm going to beat
pretty
that
sure.
out so nobody knows about the little secret gold mine.
There's a dot after that, and it's not com. Let's see. Michael Byers and his family were supposed to go out and eat, so they were also looking for Chris. So, like, right now is about the time that we're seeing, like, everybody's noticing that the kids are... Is everybody still plugged in?
I think
it came out of your...
unplugged.
Took me out.
Loki, this pretty boy. Right now is about the time, like, all of the kids are, like, supposed to be home. They're starting to, like, all the parents are like, yo, where the fuck is he, man?
This little butthead's running late.
Yeah,
The
exactly.
street lights are on and they're not home.
Right. And so we talk about, too, Stevie's mom told him, hey, be home by 4:30. Well, he's not. So,
Was Stevie's mom the one that had to go to work?
yes,
Okay.
she had to go to work. And Terry Hobbs, her name's Pam Hobbs. Terry Hobbs, the quiet of the two
quiet one.
stepfathers, takes her to work
Okay.
and realizes soon that
He's not home.
he's not home. And so he goes and looks with his full daughter. So Stevie's his stepson, and he's got a full daughter, Amanda, and they start going and looking. Around 7:30, John Michael Byers runs into a cop. It's either a cop or it's like a juvenile. I think they're like probation officers that go around, something like that. He runs into him and tells him, like, hey, we can't find the kids. Can you help us look? And the guy's like, I'll help you look, but you need to file an official police report. It's 6:30. Wait until 8 o'clock to do it. Like, I think that's a good amount of time. Gives us a chance to look. And then at that point, we should go looking.
That seems like such bad advice.
Well, listen, buddy.
Can't find your
It
kids.
doesn't
Just
get
go
any
ahead and
better.
sit on it for a while.
So they looked for a little bit longer, and at 8 o'clock, Byers filed a police report with who he called a lady cop. After she took his report,
Was it me?
she got what she called a more important call of a disoriented and bloody man at the Bojangles restaurant in the women's bathroom. So more important might be a poor choice of words.
It does
Definitely
seem
a
like
little
a higher
more.
priority.
Yeah, and it definitely slides up the list. Like, yeah, these boys are missing. Hopefully they're okay. But there's a bleeding crazy guy in the
We gotta
Bojangles
go to
women's
Bojangles real
bathroom.
quick.
Yeah, we're gonna need to swing by Bojangles. You hungry though?
Yeah, I'll take a number 2 for later though.
I don't mind a cold burger. So Stevie's stepdad, Terry, went to pick up Stevie's mom from the restaurant that she worked at, sans their son. Question number 3.
Oh, it's fried chicken.
What was the name of the restaurant? Was it A, the Crazy Crawfish, B, Big Billy's Bass Bar, C, Catfish Island, or D, Poseidon's Catch?
Oh, God.
See, it's like, even if you know the case, I'm going to ask you stupid questions anyway.
right.
So.
So, like, this is what I wasn't paying attention to. I'm like, I'm not going to remember this.
Yeah. this is
Exactly.
yeah.
Crazy Crawfish, Big Billy's Bass Bar, Catfish Island, or Poseidon's Catch. And Greg will, I think, attest to this. When it comes to like naming a club or a restaurant, I write some good ones that like could be very plausible
Yeah.
restaurant names. So that's the goal.
How far inland is Arkansas?
Listen, buddy, these are all seafood restaurants anyway. So
That's
hey, listen, you can get fish out of fresh water. You know what I'm saying?
Whatever.
Crazy Crawfish, freshwater. Bass, freshwater. Catfish, freshwater. Poseidon is in the ocean, but he might hook you up in the river too. You don't fuck around.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's why I ask. Does Arkansas have a coastline?
Hey, listen, geography questions are not my strong point, buddy. Crazy Crawfish, Big Billy's Bass Bar, Catfish Island, Poseidon's Catch. You guys got your answers? What do you think?
I'm going with Big Billy's.
Big Billy's Bass Bar.
I said Crazy Crawfish.
Crazy Crawfish. Those are great names.
But they're
Thank
wrong.
you, Jesse. They are wrong because she worked at Catfish Island.
Catfish Island.
There's not.
Not even close.
Yeah, no, I know that
No.
there's not a coastline. I didn't know like if it was like close enough to where it was like,
dust.
hey, we'll get a delivery.
It's
every
only a
day.
Louisiana away.
Yeah, no. Did you look up West Memphis specifically? What just is the most northern tip of Arkansas too?
Arkansas.
I have no idea. Arkansas.
Let's
Okay.
go to Arkansas.
So she worked at Catfish Island. Remember, this is Pam Hobbs. She's with her husband, Terry Hobbs, who's the stepfather of Stevie Branch. Stevie Branch. Okay, Catfish, they would pick her there up at 9:20. He wouldn't say a word to her at this time. He just walked past her to use the payphone to call in and report Stevie missing. So it's his claim is that he was supposed to be home 4:30. He took her to work, got back about 5. Stevie's still not home. So he and Amanda go out and start looking for her. You know, my parents would do this shit too. They'd get out in the car because we were out fucking off in the neighborhood.
What time did he put that in?
What's that?
What time did he call them to report him? missing?
9:20 when he went to go pick up Pam. So he looked himself
7.
for like 4 hours, you know,
Okay.
from let's say 5 to 8:40 before he
Yeah.
went to go pick up Pam.
And
And then he
called.
got there and made a police report from Catfish Island. And that's another possibly mysterious thing about this is that she wanted to go home and like call from Catfish Island, but give him our address. We'll meet him at the house just in case Stevie comes home. And he's like, no, that's dumb. We don't want to waste the time in between. It's a 25-minute drive. We'll do the report from Catfish Island, make them come to us. They'll throw the lights on. It'll be much faster. So maybe at the time it doesn't seem that fishy, but looking back on it, it's like, I'll be honest, like after everything that I've seen, like I would be shocked if Terry Hobbs didn't have something to do with it.
Yeah.
That's my opinion on the matter.
Yeah. Yeah, because why wouldn't you want to go home? Like,
yeah,
you know,
yeah.
like
and it's
what
not
if your kid
it's
comes
not
home?
just
Like,
this.
You know?
It's so many things.
There's
Yeah.
Yeah,
There's a
that you're
lot.
like,
Yeah.
holy shit. Because if you just watched the first Paradise Lost, you'd be like, John Mark Byers killed those fucking kids. No problem. No way, no how. I know what happened. And the second one really pushes that narrative a lot.
Yeah.
And then you start to get a little later on, you're like, oh, he's just kind of a wacky asshole, you know? Like, he doesn't really even know what he's
Just a
doing.
kooky guy.
It's exactly it. That's almost exactly
What a
it.
character.
Yeah, and he's not he's not without his faults either. He like went to
Who
prison
is?
for selling prescription pills to an undercover officer.
Well, see,
I think he
that
was
feels
a,
like that might have been entrapment.
think he was a serial check bouncer. He was, you know,
Victimless crime.
What about the mom and pops that took that for those checks in there?
It's the price of capitalism, baby.
He's just living his best life.
Yeah. So
Also, West Memphis is on the easternmost part of Arkansas.
yeah,
Fucking assholes.
yeah. That's funny.
How does that make any sense?
So around midnight on the 5th, the families would go to bed, still worried that their boys had not come home. The third boy, Michael's dad, drove a truck and was out of town on the 5th, but returned around 5 a.m. on the 6th to join the search that had started again right at dawn. So I can't, as a parent, can you imagine going to sleep not knowing where your kid
Oh,
is?
I wouldn't sleep.
That's what I was
There's
just.
no way.
That's what I was. Like, I'm not sure if you're a parent. If not, of course you guys have one together. I
Yeah,
mean,
we have one together.
Okay, I've had this happen too, though. Have you ever had a dog go missing
Yeah.
Well, that-
overnight?
I was gonna say
it's
that
a
too.
fucking nightmare.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
like,
I mean, it's not a human child, but still.
But
listen,
that's what I was gonna say. Like,
I'm not a
you don't need
person
a
that said, "Ooh, you can't be a pet parent," because that shit is important. Okay, so truck driver dad gets home, joins everybody. They get whatever sleep they can get. But I think police told them that. Like, look, we're not going to find anything overnight. It's a nice summer night in Arkansas. It's not like they're
Well,
going to
and-
die of exposure if they got stuck out in the woods somewhere. We'll find them in the morning.
I don't think they tell him to go home and get some sleep. I think it's more of like a look. It's the middle of the night in the woods.
We're
too
just-
dangerous for you to go, even though it's
Yeah.
a 4-acre patch.
Well, and they're not looking in a 4-acre patch. It's just that's out there. But like, yeah,
even though you're walking around at
Right.
night, like you're looking for lost children, you could get hurt too.
plus
so-
your boys, if they come home, you're going to want to be there. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
It's
the
kind of
whole
all
thing,
that.
Again, you
I
wanna
say
be
they
home.
went home to sleep, but they went home from sundown to sunup. So they searched for five to 6 hours early in the morning on May 6th. It's May. I'm good with numbers. They form a human chain and search shoulder to shoulder through many areas, through fields, they're doing what seems like the right thing. They're not really doing it officially, though. They're just doing like what they've seen on TV and like how a search takes place.
Link arms, and they're all going at different speeds.
So when law enforcement comes, they would say that any hope of footprint evidence in any of these would have been ruined by these search tactics. So they didn't search in the correct area anyway, but if they had, they would have almost certainly ruined any type of trace evidence that would have been for the crime.
Yeah, normal people aren't trained to be like,
well,
hey,
exactly.
that's a footprint.
Exactly. So experts say that so like in this crime, we'll know that the bodies are going to be hidden. And a lot of experts will say that the better a body is hidden, the more personal the crime was. Like the better the perpetrator knew the victim. The family and everybody's ready to leave all these wooded areas and fields on May 6th, having found no evidence. And at 1:45, a juvenile officer who was assisting in the search, the one from the night before, sees a tennis shoe with no laces floating in the water.
Never a good sign.
So he immediately, he's like, doesn't even investigate further. He calls that shit in. He's like, holy shit, I think I just found a tennis shoe. Here's the area.
The only good police work in this case.
Right. Was it like a creek or a river or like a ponding basin type thing?
Yeah, like creek is a good.
Okay, I didn't.
Crick.
Yeah.
It's in the creek.
It's in a creek.
I forgot it's Arkansas.
It's pretty slow running. It's it's only a couple feet deep. It's like something you go, sit in up to your chest in the summer when it's hella hot. You're not jumping in from the trees or anything, but. Anyway, so he sees this and calls in the police. The police go in, take a look at the area. One officer kind of goes, he's like, it's small, and it's tight. So he's straddling over the water, trying to it's murky as shit too. Trying to get any sign of anything because you can't really walk right along the banks. And I'm only doing this based on like the diagrams I've seen in photographs. But he's going over and he falls in and he's like, fuck. And he's like pinned under this log. And he goes to try to pull his feet out, and he falls backwards in the water. And at that time, the log comes up, and it's a hog-tied 8-year-old boy.
Ugh.
Not a log at all.
Not a log at all. So the boy...
what a find, though.
It turned out that the log was a body, and he pulled the body of Michael Moore out of the water. He felt around, like going downstream, and would find the body of Stevie Branch, and felt around several yards down the stream and would find the body of Chris Byers. All boys were naked and bound with their own shoelaces in a series of half-hitch knots. So they were undressed. They were, they took their shoes. No ropes found at the scene. They all had to take their own shoelaces out. Were hog-tied. I would say a modified hog-tie. It's not the all-into-one situation. It's more like just getting legs and hands behind the back. Yeah, nothing from here is going to make anybody happy. So we'll laugh when we can, guys. And, we don't have any official palate cleansers, but we'll...
tell me when to
Arkansas
laugh.
is a palate cleanser, I guess. We can just make Arkansas jokes.
There we go.
Sorry,
we try
Arkansas.
we try not to punch down on this show. we try not to make fun of the victims.
Yeah, no, definitely not.
So it has been speculated that the knots were too uniform for multiple people to have tied. Likely this was done by only one perpetrator. So this is, a circumstantial clue, but basically saying like, these knots are identical. The same person tied these. Not the same person or two people with knowledge of a similar knot. Like these are tied in the exact same way. They would also find the boys' clothing had been driven into the mud underwater with sticks. So think like, soft creek bottom. You take a stick and like pushing the shirts down. When the summer dries up that area, that shit turns into concrete anyway. Those shirts will never be seen again. So, obviously they were. They also found all of the clothing except for one sock and 2 pairs of underwear. And they also found the boys' bikes hidden in the water further downstream. So all 3 boys, all clothes, all bikes, all underwater. This is some of that footage I was talking about in the documentaries because it was normally if you find a body in the water, that you leave it. Medical examiner or coroner comes out, removes it from the water. This was traumatizing for these officers, so they pulled the boys out of the water and onto the bank. This doesn't necessarily ruin any type of evidence or anything, but I think just from a human standpoint, seeing 3 children dead, you're like, oh, leave them in the water till the examiner gets here. It's like it's a tough pill to swallow.
Especially because a lot of these guys are probably parents themselves, so that clouds judgment.
Yeah, it makes real tough. So here's a pretty graphic part. One of the boys was missing his penis. For many, many years, these murders were described as mutilation inflicted by a knife. Question number 4. What would it actually turn out made most, if not all, of the wounds on the boys' bodies? Was
Can I
it
stab? No, never mind.
Don't. Was it A, a stick, B, scissors, C, turtles, or D, it was actually a knife?
Do you know this one?
My stab
How
wasn't
come
on
I
there,
don't know this
I don't
one?
know why.
but I
This
feel
looks
like I know the answer now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A stick, scissors, turtles, or it actually was a knife?
Because it's like super weird.
Yeah. Am I supposed to answer now?
Sure.
You go first.
She wrote hers down, so you can just say it out loud.
I'm going with the stick.
All right, the stick.
It's the turtles.
It is the turtle.
I was gonna say crawfish, but
It is the turtles.
It is the
250 points to
Good
Danielle.
job.
Yes, very nice.
It is the turtle. How
'Cause
come I
that's-
didn't
they thought
remember
it
that?
was like knife or something.
Yeah,
and then-
the original medical examiner thought that it was the serrated backside of
Of the
a
K-bar.
combat knife. Yes,
Yeah.
a K-bar. I mean, a non-name brand one, but yes, that,
It is
yes.
the turtle.
Sunny Select K-bar.
Yeah, yeah. The worst part about it is when you see the medical examiner. I have his name in here, Frank Peretti. First of all, Frank Peretti is a piece of shit. Second of all, Frank Peretti, not a real doctor. He took you have 5 chances to take and pass the board. After 5, you can't be a doctor. He took it twice and then never took it again for personal reasons. He became an assistant medical examiner, which you do not have to have your doctorates for, in a county where the medical examiner was mostly
900
useless.
years old.
Yes, exactly. So Frank Peretti was kind of
Got grandfathered into that position.
correct. That's exactly what fucking
knew what he
happened.
was
He,
doing.
Frank Peretti sounds like the kind of guy who like gets aggressive ordering sandwiches.
he looks like the kind of guy. Fucking look him up. So Frank.
I need more fucking pepper.
No. I think it's the opposite way. It's like the high-pitched Italian Frank Peretti.
Like Joe Pesci.
Yeah. So Frank Peretti, he shows the knife and he shows the wounds and he's like, and there is no way that someone could look at this and not say that these knives didn't cause this wound. But he never has a photograph where it's like the wounds and the knives lined up and showing the grooves. So for me, it's like such a...
Like, where's the proof, bro?
Yeah, you could. The funniest part about it to me, so Frank Peretti, in the end, he mentions being personal friends with and using the things he's learned from Dr. Vincent DeMaio. He actually uses his book and is like, oh, I know him quite well on the stand. Vincent DeMaio got to look at all this shit and said, this is all fucking bullshit what this guy said. Vincent DeMaio says that the autopsy was immaculate. It was one of the most perfect autopsies he's ever had the chance to look at. It was done perfectly. But taking it and breaking it down and understanding what was in it was done incredibly incorrectly by medical examiner Frank Peretti.
Fucking Frank.
DeMaio says that all of the wounds were post-mortem and he attributes them to wildlife. Later, he would officially say turtles when he saw the comparison. DeMaio says that, years later, they would put dead chickens in with GoPros in the water, right where the boys were found. I don't know if this exists,
Fuck
but
me with dead chickens and GoPros. Like, come on.
This was
That you
just-
if that's science, dog. I've been doing science since I was a child.
so
Where's our doctorates?
after 4 hours, there was nothing but skeletons left of the chickens, and the GoPro showed that the turtles arrived at the chicken bodies within 20 minutes.
Turtles arrived.
Then they tested this with dead pigs instead of chickens and got a lot of consistent wounds with the boys. In west of Memphis, they show essentially a turtle expert puts his arm in an alligator snapping turtle's mouth, gets a bite, he holds it up and shows the bite. They show one of the wounds on the boy's, I want to say arm or chest.
Like identical?
I mean, it's fucking...
What a badass,
it's
though. Like, let me let
insane.
this turtle bite my arm.
And it wasn't even like, this is for evidence. It's like, oh, you're a documentary filmmaker? Yeah, I'll let this shit bite
What
me.
is that called? What are turtles? It's a weird name. Their scientific name. Like, people that study turtles.
I'm not sure.
It's a weird, like...
Greg?
Yeah, look it up.
Jamie, look it up.
It's a weird thing.
So, yeah, I mean, that to me, when I saw that, my mind was fucking blown at how identical some of the wounds were. And the other ones...
Herpetologist.
Herpetologist.
But in addition to that, turtles have sharp claws. And a lot of the marks you see that were attributed to the serrated part of a K-bar are almost identical with a turtle that would be going at or climbing at, to a body. So the idea with the pig and the chicken going in the water is just to prove that, like, this is so plausible. And it's so plausible that every time they went and tested it with either chickens or pigs, that turtles never failed to arrive and begin feeding. Not once.
And the alligator snapping turtles are the ones that were out there?
Yeah. And red ear turtles, box turtles, soft shell turtles, all of them are carnivorous. All turtles are carnivorous as far as I know.
I had a red-eared slider, and he was a badass.
Yeah,
he used to eat like full-ass fish.
Yeah, totally. And just like any other predator that's going to go after carrion, they're going to go after the softest, most accessible, most
the fatty tissues,
fleshiest pieces they can get.
I get it.
They also feed downstream to upstream. The boys that were further downstream were more mutilated than the boys upstream. And they say turtles go for soft tissue areas first, and the boys had many soft tissue injuries, including their lips, arms, and stomach areas. And since one of the boys no longer had a penis, they use it as evidence of Satanism in the trial. We know it's not quite the height. We're kind of coming down off of satanic panic at this point, but very much this was like, ritual mutilation. More likely, Kelly G put it in like, this is literally just a fishing lure.
Yeah.
In the water. Like this is literally what you would like a bottom hitting fishing lure. A little boy's penis would probably be a very identical thing. So it's very likely that this is what the fish attacked first. And when you see the bite marks, or when you see the like attacks to the lips, they don't look like a human bit a lip, and they look like a fucking beak snapped them. Yeah. And alligator snapping turtles, by the way, get fucking huge too.
Oh yeah, they're giant.
Look
at that thing.
Yes.
Look how big it is.
They get fucking huge.
They're massive.
And I'm sure that's a 70-year-old snapping turtle.
And when they look like that, they look like they eat Italian plumbers and kidnap their princess.
Yeah.
Or remember Taka from the Ninja Turtles movie? The like kind of dumb Ninja Turtle, but he had like spikes and stuff. He was a snapping turtle.
I don't remember that at all.
Sorry. So look it up. You don't have to. But anyway, it kind of, to me, explains a lot better than not matching the backside of a K-bar with some wounds. When you see these, and it's one of those things where I didn't want to get taken like, oh man, it's a documentary and they're just leading me down and I'm just kind of like believing whatever narrative. It's really one where I was like, whoa. And I had never seen West of Memphis before this week. I'd seen all of the Lost in Paradise, and I rewatched them, but holy shit, Lost in Memphis or West of Memphis really brought some things to light that I wasn't really aware of.
I don't think I've ever watched that one. I think I've seen one of the Lost in Paradise.
They're all
I don't know if I've ever watched the West of Memphis. I could have, but
so again, satanic panic. Bad news. Obviously, that's one of the first places they go. We're also in Arkansas. Like we're deep in the Bible Belt. It is
jinx.
In a small town. We know bad gas travels fast. The police have the unfortunate duty of telling the parents that their children had been found dead, and of course, because they're their parents, what condition they had been found in. Everyone in the town, as you would guess, sort of fucking freaked out. 3 8-year-olds had been killed, tied up, sunk underwater.
Small town, middle America.
Yeah. The 3 8-year-old boys had just been killed, and the rumor mill has already begun. The lead investigator tried to hold some of the details as close to his chest as possible because, like, right, that's what you need to be like. He knows something that no one else could know. However, some details were almost immediately leaked. Question number 5: who leaked these details? Was it A, a parent or step-parent? B, the local newspaper? C, a police officer himself? Or D, a student at the school?
All viable choices.
Parent, step-parent, the local newspaper, a police officer, a student at the school. Fuck it, I'm into it. Okay, what do you guys think? Parent, step-parent, newspaper, police officer, student at the school.
Newspaper.
I think it was one of the parents or the step-parents.
I suck at this.
give Paige 250 points because, yes, it was one of those amoral Middle America Bible Belt newspapers that printed a ton of leaked details.
They said the Lord
the
told
next
me to do this.
day.
The Lord told
The next
me.
day.
The following day,
Idiots.
they would release these, much to the chagrin of the officers attempting to investigate this work. Before the boys died, this lady Vicky had been scheduled to come into the police station for a polygraph because she had been suspected of stealing from her employer. Her appointment was after they were killed, and she showed up with her 8-year-old kid. The kid was best friends with Michael and Chris, and was quoted as actually being invited to go with them to the woods that day, but Vicky didn't allow him to.
Good call.
Vicky also knows a kid in her trailer park named Jesse Miskelly, and also knows that there are several $1,000s being offered as a reward for information in the case. This part kind of fucking complicated because you really start to understand just how unintelligent some of the people we're dealing with are. There is a base level of intelligence you expect from a general human being where you're like, yes, we know what right from wrong. We know,
Basic morals.
right. Maybe not the case here. So, Jesse was introduced to Vicky, and she introduced him to Damian Eccles, a friend of his, and Jason Baldwin. Somehow Jesse got the idea that talking to police would get him some of that money. So he and Vicky are kind of like, it feels like Vicky maybe planted the idea, there's a lot of money out there. Jesse's like, holy shit, I wonder if I could get in on that. But he's like good buds.
Money.
He's good buds with Damian and with Jason. Like they're kind of a trio you see together a lot. So I think he was treading lightly. Like, I want to get this money, but at the same time, I want to see how I can do this. So we've just mentioned 3 names here. These are the West Memphis 3. It's Damian Eccles, it's Jason Baldwin, and it is Jesse Miskelly. If you got the picture up there, Greg, we talked about this. All 3 of them, great hair. Damian's just got some nice long black straight hair. Jason's got just the fucking mullet to end all mullets. You can't see it in the picture there, but if you look up Jesse Miskelly, he's got like a little poof right here. He's got the rat tail. And he's also got in the side like some shaved like line designs. I'm into it. I'm gonna get the Jesse Miskelly haircut pretty soon here, I think.
I support it. When I sat down, I said, "Tell me the one in the middle has a rat tail," and he said, "He does."
Love the rat tails.
How'd you know?
That's fantastic. I'm so glad.
Love it.
So, yes, those 3 boys are the West Memphis 3. They are the earliest and, according to police, most likely suspects to have done this crime. Why would they think that, right? In June 1993, the police questioned 17-year-old Jesse Miskelly because, he had some information. And Jesse's got quite a low IQ. We talked about this. There's some pretty low intelligence. Question number 6, and we'll take a quick break. We'll come back. We'll get to the rest of it. But question number 6, what was Jesse Miskelly's intelligence quotient or IQ?
On a scale of 1 to 10.
So Jesse Miskelly's IQ. And I want to say average is somewhere like right above 100, if I'm not mistaken.
Let's find out.
If that gives you any help.
I think it's like 106 or something. That's average.
We've done this 25 times, Greg. It's like looking up the McDonald triad.
85 and 115.
Okay,
That's the
go.
range for average.
Okay. What are we thinking?
Forrest Gump is what, 46?
You see, ma'am, here is the line for normal.
Where's Forrest Gump? My name's
75.
Gump. My name's Gump, Forrest Gump. Why did I say 46? He's not an idiot. What?
Well, according
My
to the
name's
line,
Gump,
he
Forrest
was.
Gump. People call me Forrest Gump.
All right, what do you think? Forrest Gump was a 75.
I'm going to do 82.
Yeah, I think it was like, I kind of wanted to say 68, but now that seems low. So, but I'm 68.
Locking in
Yeah,
68.
go with your gut.
Give Danielle 250 points. Jesse Miskelly had an IQ of 72.
Good job.
And was questioned without his parents' consent.
Not a
'Cause I
good
know that
one.
was a huge thing. Was like,
Not
they were
good.
like, okay, you just took this kid that is so gullible and had no parental like supervision.
If you guys remember the what was the case? It was real big on Netflix. The the dude in Wisconsin and his nephew. I can't think of their names.
Steve, How to Make a Murder.
Yeah.
What's
Okay.
his name? Steven?
But the nephew, these
he's
two,
the same.
they feel very similar.
Oh, yeah,
and
100%.
Yes. So we'll take a quick break here.
Before you do, hold on. I looked up a 72 IQ. And according to Jujel, it says while a specific full-scale IQ score is no longer required for diagnosis, standardized testing is used as part of diagnosing a condition. A full-scale IQ score of around 70 to 75 indicates significant limitation in intellectual functioning.
Intellectual, that's...
So
He don't think real good.
Yeah.
Also,
Same, brother.
Even so, like Jesse Miskelly's dad looks like the most like. It's hard to describe. He sort of looks like a thumb. And he don't talk real good. Don't talk like this, you know. Like Jesse not a real smart boy. You know, he's below average
Homie,
intelligence.
where you make it?
Yeah. So let's take this break. We'll come back. We'll finish up this fucked up story, and come back, or we'll kill you.
Well,
I'm a goddamn professional. And Loki, you don't have to. Welcome back, everybody. If you're hearing this, we don't have to kill you, which is great. Again, I say this every time, but I'm lazy as fuck. Don't want to go out killing anybody, but I'll find somebody to do the job. That's America, baby.
Here
That's
I go
America.
killing again.
Greg, I asked you for how much time we were in. Welcome back, Greg, by the way. Welcome back, Danielle and Paige. What's the score?
750 Danielle, 500 Paige.
Okay, we got a close one, guys. So, if I'm not mistaken, let's see. We just did question 6. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 questions remaining. Plenty of time, as we like to say. We're talking about Jesse Miskelly and his under average intelligence. He did carry an IQ of 72, which if we heard before the Greg, Break told us all about how a 72 intelligence quotient is quite low. It is you are not operating with a
Full deck
at all. It's
they said you were intellectually challenged, and I feel when they have to break out words like intellectually, then that's not even.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's clear. Like you hear the tapes of Jesse Miskelly, and you're like, no, this poor fucking kid, man. So anyway, he was questioned without his parents' consent. Remember, that's kind of a huge thing.
Yeah, that's a violation of rights.
Kind of want to have him
big
there.
time, especially if you're not high on the IQ level.
Right. And right off the bat, they record on a tape recording. They start asking Jesse a bunch of questions. In this tape recording, it seems clear that Jesse knows nothing. He's continually led to answers, and even then, you're talking to an intelligent or a intellectually challenged person. Like, he's not getting it. The cops are like, well, don't you think it was after school? Because they're like, well, what time did it happen? And, the cops at this point are like, it happened sometime between about 6 p.m. and sundown, which is like 7:30. So they think that the kids died in this 90-minute window. And in the first interview, Jesse's like, oh, it was at noon? And the cop's like, well, don't you think it was after school? And at this point, Jesse Miskelly has dropped out of school. He's a mechanic.
What time do they get out?
And Jesse goes, well, I don't go to school. Like, he's like, well, if I don't go to school, nobody could go to school. You know what I mean? Like,
School's closed.
yeah.
Ain't
So,
you heard that Alice Cooper song? School's out.
sir, is May summer or not? So, Jesse knows nothing. It's like clear. Every question he answers, they're like, no, Jesse, don't you mean this? And he's like, oh, yeah, I mean that. And he is interviewed for, it's not clear because there aren't timestamps. They're tape recordings for several hours. Some will report it as high as 8 hours that day. So, in west of Memphis, they mentioned that police don't like the word interrogation. They're interviewing you. Yeah. But this was an interrogation because the second tape comes on. Again, we don't have timestamps. So this could have been 8 hours
That's
later.
where you can hear him hook the jumper cables to his nipples.
He's definitely still, the story is shaky at best, but he's definitely heading in the right direction. He's admitted to being there. It's not just like, oh, I know 2 people that are there. He'll admit that one of the boys runs away. He went and grabbed him and brought him back for the other 2 boys.
Genius. Just great moves.
Yes. So, he said that he saw 18-year-old Damian Eccles and 16-year-old Jason Baldwin doing cult rituals on the boys. He gets the timeline of the crime wrong a bunch of times. He guessed some things that were true, but also a ton of stuff has been leaked in the media. So it's on you can watch it with your fucking eyes on the TV, and they're telling you, and you just repeat that stuff. And the cops are like, yep, you know it.
Does he seem like the kind of guy who's watching the news?
I mean, for a case like this in small town Arkansas,
And the
like
newspapers too. Like everybody had the newspapers back then.
Yeah, but again, does he seem like a reader?
no, but everybody's fucking talking
people-
about it,
yeah,
and he's
people
got
are
an
talking.
accomplice essentially, Vicky, who's like,
That's true.
Vicky said to him, you know.
Yeah, I
well,
was
she
gonna say, I
was
could
it was
see
she was the
somebody-
one who was like, oh, there's some money in
Yeah,
this, Jesse.
She was like, go.
Yeah.
You can get money. And he was like, oh, okay.
Because he, again, intellectually challenged, he wasn't coming up with this idea.
No.
Yeah.
He just thought that he could execute.
Well, and he's a mechanic. He's not making a lot of money.
She's got
So
him in there
money.
convincing him that he was involved so she can turn him in for the money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe so. Who the
That
fuck knows,
sounds.
man?
It sounds.
Damn, dude, get rich quick schemes used to be a lot simpler.
So, after they showed him one of the pictures, they showed him a recording of just some anonymous little boy saying, "Nobody knows what happened but me," and this fucking freaked out Jesse Miskelly. Now, like, it's totally legal to lie in a police interrogation or interview. I just read, I think, Indiana maybe? There's a state that just made it illegal to lie to a minor. Police can't lie to minors while interviewing them, which should be a law in all 50 states.
Good.
I mean, yeah.
Because I think that's like, if you lie and you're like, oh, we found your DNA, if you didn't do it and you know your DNA is not there,
Right.
you're going to be like, no, you're not.
But you freak some people out, especially when you
Yes.
got an IT of... Well, and also we're working in a time pre-DNA. 93? Yeah. We're close. OJ was really the big trial that, brought us some of that DNA evidence for the first time. Everybody's like, what in the hell is DNA? I heard about that on the Jurassic Park, but I don't know.
That doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, right. So, Jesse is terrified by this record. Guys, we got a special guest in studio here today. Is Loki in camera here?
Are you speaking? Yeah.
Oh, he'll pop up in camera somewhere. Loki came along because he's an escaped prisoner from his...
He's a convict.
Yeah, so...
Harboring fugitives.
Yeah, so he's joining the show today, and he's going to like it, and we're going to hear from him probably.
Yeah.
So...
He's starting to get real pissed about this case, y'all.
Well,
He says they lied to that low intelligence child.
so, Jesse will like get to a part of the story and then go, well, that's when I left. And they're like, no, Jesse, you didn't leave yet. You were here for this, and this. And he's like, oh, yeah, okay. And he tells it, and then he'll be like, okay, so that's when I left. And they're like, well, Jesse, you didn't leave yet because weren't you here for this, and this? And so they taped the 45 minutes at the end, in which most people are like, yeah, they fucking coached him for 7 hours. Yeah. And then they recorded him one more time. He's still got stuff wrong in the second recording, like a lot of stuff.
Shocking.
But they still said that they had what they needed and that they had their suspects. The lead investigator on the murder was at a press conference. One reporter asked him how solid the case was against the 3 boys on a scale of 1 to 10. Question number 7. When asked how strong the case was 1 to 10, what was the answer that the lead investigator gave at the press conference?
10.
Yeah, I have a feeling it was 10.
We'll give you guys both 250 points because he said 11.
Damn.
I kind of
11.
remember that he was straight up like, no,
so
they
confident.
did it.
And we're talking like a couple days in, no physical evidence, and a confession from a boy with the IQ of 72 who was interviewed without his parents.
Yeah, and for how long?
Well, it just makes me think like the complete opposite, like the Delphi case, that they're holding like so much shit back, and you can't even like after they indicted that guy, people still didn't know.
Yeah.
And then
and that's the thing with this case too, why we have so much, because you'll see at the end, this is a closed case. So at that point, that information, we get to see it. Like that is public information. Yeah. So it has to be said that all 3 of these boys and their families were dirt poor. Some believe that they were initially targeted just due to this. In 1994, Jesse went to trial first by himself. So since he gave the confession, he was there, but they're going to try him on his own. He's kind of separate, getting maybe possibly a little bit of a deal for giving the other 2 boys up. Who did the killing? He was just there. They brought up an expert, his defense would, on false and coerced confessions to testify. The prosecutor is basically like, well, aren't you from Berkeley? Legit. Like, he was like chiding him. I like how Kelly G put it. She put, and's like, aren't you from Berkeley? Basically chiding him from being from California and not belonging in the South.
Sick burn.
They also, so like, all of the information that the defense gets, the prosecution gets, and vice versa. Anything that's introduced isn't a surprise because they all know about it beforehand, including the pay that like an expert witness might get. So the prosecutor also says, yeah, and don't you make $300 an hour for this? Like while this expert and coerced witness, and he's like, no, that's like a fee that I do have, but I get $150 for this total. Like that's what this is all about. And he said, but I don't work for, like I work for the victims. I don't work for anybody. But basically this guy came in to say, yo, this confession was coerced. It's false. He was led to all these answers, and the prosecutor, just in the eyes of the jury, fully discredited him by being like, aren't you from California, sissy?
You sissy boy.
So in one trip to the stand, they would completely discredit this guy, and he's literally an expert. Like he's got a doctorate on like behavioral analytics and how to understand coerced confessions.
But the prosecutor said, "Don't you like avocado toast?"
Yeah,
Avocado.
exactly. So
Fresh avocado.
there was also several alibi witnesses for Jesse. A lot of people who saw him miles away at a wrestling match. Jesse's a huge wrestling fan, and they had like
Understandable.
They had
Dope.
like local wrestling nights where like either A, you can come and watch the local wrestling, or B, you can come and be part of the local wrestling. People remember specifically this night because they had one friend who had never gone. He went that night and never again, and Jesse was definitely fucking there that night. So it's not like I think it was Jesse. Like there's a point in the night that like really makes it stand out to everybody. This one guy was there, the one time only ever.
What's the thing?
Yeah, and
What happened?
that guy being there. Like their homie who never goes to wrestling went that night, and they were specifically remember
I
Jesse
thought like
being
something
there.
happened at the match that traumatized him. and
No,
they were,
sorry.
Like, stuck
Never
in our...
going back.
Yeah, like I'm like, what happened, dude? Was it the first time somebody used a fluorescent bulb?
Additionally,
Was it the sting bat?
Jesse signed the visitor's log, and it's like very clearly in like Jesse Miskelly's in Jesse Miskelly's handwriting, like according to an analysis expert. Anyway, his friends remembered it because of that. Basically, they were never brought to trial. They were never interviewed by police. Their stories never really got, and if they were pretty much written off. Oh well, Jesse, you'd be sentenced to life in prison. Question number 9. In addition to his life sentence, Jesse was sentenced to a length of years in prison as well. How long? They'll often give him a life plus.
25 a life, whatever.
So this is a life sentence plus this amount of years.
I'm going to go with 25 to life since I said that.
20.
Life plus 20, life plus 25. Give it to Paige.
Oh.
Because they gave him a life sentence plus 40 years.
Dang. 40 to
So
life?
there were 2 different crimes. The life sentence was for the murder, and the 40 years was basically for everything else.
That just tied it up.
Yeah.
Yeah, 1,000 all.
Ooh, uh-oh.
1,000
It's on, babe.
all. Yeah. So life plus 40 years. Also in 1994, about 3 weeks later, Jason and Damien are going to be tried together. And Jesse would not testify against Damien or Jason at trial, but they were allowed to consider his confession. So Damien and Jason had a little bit of criminal record, but nothing that would lead you to believe that they were capable of something like this. Damien had been in trouble with an old girlfriend for trespassing and other petty things. A little Bonnie and Clyde action, They told him that
As you do.
Yeah, he would be punished if he went to a psych ward. So that's on his record too. Or that he wouldn't be punished. Basically,
Like
he's
a
a juvenile. The police were like, "Yo, it'll be a lot less if we do this as a psychological
Like a plea
thing."
deal. If
Yeah.
you go here and then...
Yep. So he's got like a psych visit on his record as well. Jason had a vandalism charge, and it was for breaking a car window out in a junkyard.
Okay.
In a junkyard?
I
why is that
know.
even a
What an
charge?
asshole junkyard owner, right?
It feels like that was maybe like a trumped up charge to try and get him for something else.
Yeah.
Because fuck a car in a junkyard. Break that window. Break the other one too.
Right.
It's like those guys that have cars. I've had this car for 50 years and I ain't ever shelling it.
It was literally at a place where they're going to fucking turn it into
sitting there.
a cube of metal.
Or
Yeah.
Nelson
Squish
Muntz.
it.
That's
Why
my
does it
dad's
just-
shooting car.
Yeah, no.
Just 2 more payments and it's ours.
So question number 10. At this time, prosecution is going to put forth a major piece of evidence. What is it? Is it A, fiber from a robe. B, skin from under a fingernail. C, hair from one of their heads. Or D, blood found at the scene. Fiber from a robe, skin under the fingernails, hair from one of their heads, or blood found at the scene.
I feel like it's fiber.
Skin under the nail. I'm going.
Give Danielle 250
Good
points because they would
job.
present a fiber that they found at the scene that matched a robe that Jason's mother owned. A very common robe, like you might buy at Target
At
or
Macy's,
yeah,
what, Sears? Was Sears the thing
yeah.
back then?
I feel like it would
It
have
was
been
still Sears Robux.
It would have been like the Family Bargain Center, probably. But yes, it was a very common robe. It wasn't like, oh, it's matched specifically to the one in
It's a
her home.
Victoria's
It's like it would have been
custom.
Yes, exactly. So they were pretty much like, yeah, well, that was his mother's, and like clearly that could have been attached to him, which could have landed here. So it was Jason Baldwin for sure.
Nobody else has that robe.
One fiber,
Yeah,
one
no
fiber, a ridiculously common fiber, and it was not searched for in the victim's home either. They just knew about the yeah. So
That's what she was in on the news.
yeah, they would also get the same judge that Jesse got for his trial. That woman Vicky we talked about earlier, remember her? The woman who had maybe stolen from work, polygraphed her son was maybe one of the boys that could have been killed. She testifies that she went to a satanic meeting with the boys and saw all sorts of crazy shit. Conveniently, later she would not be charged with anything in relation to the theft from her employer that we mentioned earlier.
I kind of hate
Thank
her.
you, Satan.
She kind of sucks.
There's also a guy being held in jail with Jason who testified that Jason would confess to him while they were awaiting trial. His name is Michael Carson, and he claimed that Jason talked about killing the boys, dismembering them, and sucking the blood from their penises and putting their balls in his mouth. Since then, Michael Carson has recanted his story, and he says now, quote, I was doing serious adult drugs, and I was doing a lot of them. Also, the police and prosecution knew about this. Though he denied it on the stand at the time, he was given a deal for his testimony as well.
I like to think that there's a line somewhere out there between adult drugs and children's
that's what I
drugs.
was-
Well, I think the thing is like he just was a kid. Like
Yeah.
kids.
No, I mean, I get what he was saying. I
If
just
you're
feel
gonna
like
put it, it's like 21 and up for drugs, right? Come on.
he was
But-
just out there like robo-tripping on children's Robitussin.
Yeah.
And then in 93, he was like, you know what? Fuck it. Heroin.
Yeah.
I
like-
don't know exactly what he was on, but he just said he was on some crazy shit, and both like authorities and prosecution knew, but they were like, "Oh, he's in there with him."
Just huffing dry cleaning fluid,
Yeah,
man.
fucking whatever
cleaner.
you can. So, again, he said on the stand that he did not get a deal, but it turns out that he did. Later, he's gonna be like, "Yeah, I fucking got a deal for it." And in west of Memphis, he like says, "I don't know if Jason can hear this, and I really wish that I could say it to his face, but I am sorry." Blah blah blah. You know, like that wasn't true what I said. Years later, Vicky's gonna recant too. So.
Sounds like a coming of age story. A bunch of people growing up and going, oh shit, maybe I fucked up a bunch of people's lives.
Yeah, so later they would say the guard in charge of their unit had let everybody watch TV the night of the testimony, and they lost it calling Michael Carson a liar. So like everybody on the wing saw Michael Carson on TV, like, he's fucking lying. What the fuck? That's not what
Boo.
Baldwin said.
Turn
Yeah,
this
yeah.
trash off.
So there were also two teenage girl witnesses that said at a softball game that they heard Damien confess to the crime, but they didn't know that it was said before or after the alleged confession, and actually admitted that they were pretty far away.
Oh. We weren't actually there, but
Yeah. So they also called in
We
an
just made stuff up.
expert, and if you're listening audio only, I'm using air quotes on this one.
Those are big air quotes, too.
Oh,
Those are the
bud,
ones
I
that we
don't use them that often
Those are the
either.
ones that we use for producer Greg.
He's an expert on the occult, and he cited black clothing and black hair as signs that people were involved in Satanism. This is a very popular outfit Damien Eccles would wear, Jason Baldwin to a lesser extent. Jesse Miskelly, like, he didn't seem someone that was concerned with what he was wearing.
have
ever.
we seen my shirt today?
It's fucking beautiful. That's a very Jason Baldwin shirt.
What's up, Jason?
Can't read it from here.
But yes, so I mean, Greg wears a pentagram or a Hail Satan shirt on the show every 5 or 6 episodes.
Yeah.
We're a fan of the Dark Lord. Black Phillip's right
Yeah,
here
Dark
hanging out. We do our thing here.
Hail
Satan.
Rude dude with the attitude.
Yeah. But, it's all fake and you're all idiots. So, anyway, so are we. So it doesn't matter. We're all in this together, guys. So, listen, this guy's not a fucking expert. He's just a guy who literally made police instruction videos on how to spot a Satanist and stuff like that. So, like, think about you're a police officer in the 80s and you would have watched like a training video on how to watch spotting a Satanist. It would have been this guy. And I didn't put his name in here because I fucking hate him.
Have you seen, I'm sure have you guys all seen Fear and Loathing?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Do you remember
Johnny Depp, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Do you remember the
She probably hasn't. She doesn't watch movies.
There was a scene where he goes undercover to go in, and he's like to check into a hotel, and he's in there, and it's like a police officers meeting, and they're like talking about how to spot a drug addict, and Hunter S. Thompson is sitting there in this crowd of police officers, and they're like, you'll notice his eyes are red and bloodshot and hid behind T-shades, and he kind of looks up, and he's looking around, and they're like, and the semen crusted on the front of his pants from not being able to find a rape victim, and he looks down, and he's all... and like... But I can imagine it's like I've seen that same kind of scenario before where they're just like, this is how you spot somebody.
Yeah.
They'll have horns growing out underneath their hair.
Basically, this is exactly what it is.
It's like a cartoon.
The defense would also ask him about his credentials, and he had to admit that in order to get his doctorate, he said he had a doctorate in occultism.
Hell yeah, dude.
Not
How
a thing.
sick is that, though?
I want one of those.
In order to receive his doctorate in occultism, he did not have to attend any classes.
What a dummy.
Yo, I've got those blank diplomas in my house. I could get one too.
I'm also a doctor in occultism. Thank
Hell
you.
Yeah, dude.
Thanks for being here. Thanks for coming to my TED Talk.
And maybe ufology too. I don't know. We'll see. I don't know if there's time.
So think about this though. He was somehow still more successful in convincing a judge and jury than the expert in coercion,
California lawyer,
the Berkeley lawyer.
Well, if he didn't show up to court in Birkenstocks,
it's that whole Bible Belt thing. Like, man, they just hear Satan and they're like, "Oh, get the Bible."
And again, at this time too, like there was a Satan special on Geraldo, on Sally Jesse Raphael, on Oprah, on Donahue, on every major talk show, all of the major
that everyone was watching.
Yes, and all of the major like sitcoms at the time all had something dealing with like kids who delved into the dark world and stuff like
dark arts.
It's such a silly thing to look back on that like was a real people thought was a real issue, like all these cults they're taking over America, and really it was like Oprah's done it multiple times. She did that like whole like cult? Oprah did that whole like, oh, kids are, if you're wearing a blue one, it's for fucking BJ's. And it was like that's not a thing. But Oprah like had parents convinced that was real shit that's taking place.
Or the whole like, oh, if your right ear is pierced only, you're gay.
Oh yeah, left is right and right is wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah, people are fucking stupid. Okay,
go.
So again, I just think that's insane that he was far more successful than our California Birkenstock
Fuck that guy.
So they did bring up the Bojangles bathroom in the trial, how the cop went there, and there was possibly a dude who was bloody and in the woman's bathroom.
It was a dude in the woman's bathroom.
That
Okay.
that was why it went up because there's some fucking crazy guy in the woman's bathroom all covered in blood.
I don't know why I thought it was a girl.
Since the quote unquote lady cop had only taken the report through the drive-through that night, they sent more cops out on the 6th, the day after, to follow up on it. So essentially, she gets there, the guy's not there. The Bojangles people tell her like, oh, he's not even here anymore. So she goes through the drive-through. I'm assuming orders some fuking fried chicken, and also fills out her report. Like taking it from the window, so she doesn't have to get out of her car. It gives me an idea of the physical shape she might be in. They also would gather a blood sample when they would go out the following day, but it had already been mostly cleaned up by Bojangles employees because the cop wasn't like, yo, don't clean this shit up.
No.
It was like, oh, I'll take the report and a number 6. And so...
Large Coke, please.
Yeah, so by the time they're like, oh shit, a murder may have taken place right here.
It's already cleaned.
Yeah, Bojangles employees have had to fucking
They
clean
did
up the
their job and
biohazard.
cleaned the
Yeah,
bathroom.
yeah. And they say mostly clean because blood is not an easy thing notoriously to clean up. So they did try to collect on what was left. But
I could just imagine some like minimum wage employee like, man, fuck.
yeah, and it's 1993. He's making like $3.75 an
I was
hour.
just gonna say he's making
Like
$2.90.
$1? Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
And
in
he's
Arkansas,
like, I don't get paid
no
enough
way.
to clean up a crime scene.
Yeah, that's true. My first job, I made $6.75 an hour, and that was like, fuck yeah!
I'm rich.
I make $900 a month. So they would gather some of the blood samples from the cleaned by Bojangles employees mess that was left behind. Damien, being a 19-year-old boy, didn't do himself any favors at the trial, but he was also he's like talking to an absolute dick of a human being and prosecutor John Fogelman, and also like he didn't think he can get tried for something he knew he didn't do. He was like, well, I'm not going to get convicted of this. I'm going to fuck off at this trial because they can't convict me of a murder when I clearly know in my head I didn't murder somebody.
I do fully support wasting the court's time.
Yes, and he did.
Good.
He did. Like
I mean-
there's so many things of him just laughing or like look, he'll like be panning and he'll see a court camera and go. And people are like, nobody would normally act like this if they were on trial for murder. And he's like, I didn't murder anybody.
Yeah,
so
exactly,
I
'cause
don't have
it's like,
shit to
do
worry
that.
about.
I was gonna say it sounds like me in detention. Like when
But-
kids walk by.
But Damien took the stand in his own defense. Now, most defense lawyers are not going to let any suspect do this. This is not a good idea. Lawyers
The defense lawyer's like, we didn't realize he was a suspect. He didn't do it.
lawyers get paid to make you sound stupid. Like that's what a trial lawyer's job is, to get you to trip over your words, whether you're being truthful or not. As long as they make you sound untruthful, there's just 12 people
Shadow
they've
of a
got to
doubt.
convince.
Yeah,
That's
because
it.
who are they gonna listen to? You or the guy that?
That's like in a
suit.
suit that went to Yale. Like, you know, it's
Went to Berkeley.
well,
With his
not these guys.
Birkenstocks.
They went to Arkansas State.
Arkansas.
Go
So
Razorbacks.
if you're ever wondering why they don't want people to testify on their own, go ahead and watch. You can watch Damien's. They make him look
Yeah.
fucking stupid. And Greg, you and I were very similar 19-year-old young men. We thought we were the smartest fucking dudes in the world. And like,
Still do.
yeah, we're not.
It's all
And we
wet
would have got
yesterday.
shat on just like this, but they twisted his words. When he answered truthfully, they made him look like an idiot. He looks very unreliable at this point. And around this time, the defense needs someone else to point to, right? Like, these guys didn't do it, but we have no fucking idea. And it's not the defense's job to find the criminals that did it, but that's, again, we talked about this earlier. This is how this trial is going. It's not like
Sounds like a railroad.
These boys are innocent. Let's find out whether that's true
And
or
this
not.
was after they convicted Jesse, right?
Yeah, Jesse has been convicted of
in-
life in prison.
yeah.
They cannot take his conviction and
use it.
They're not allowed to think about that. It's
Yeah.
not part of this, but they are allowed to use his taped confession. That is played in court. Jesse decided he didn't want to get on the stand against them,
Yes,
but
okay.
but they are able to use his tape. So they need someone to point to. The defense needs to take heat off their guys, even though it's not their job. But you don't have to look far to find John Mark Byers outside
He's there.
doing just fucking crazy stuff. Greg, if you would Google a picture of John Mark Byers for us.
Yes, please. I want to look at his
Maybe
pictures.
like do like John Mark Byers early 90s and then maybe show us one a little later because he definitely ages poorly. But Mark, we're just going to call him Byers. Byers had a long, hard life, and he also wasn't a saint, but he was very outspoken. He spent his life writing bad checks. He went to jail for selling prescription drugs to an undercover cop and got a restraining order put on him for whipping a neighbor's kid. So that's like later, right there in the suit. That's like later John Mark Byers. Yeah, that's like early 2010s.
I'm sorry, but he looks racist as fuck.
Right there in like a
Damn.
yeah, that right there. That's from Paradise Lost.
Good God.
Yeah.
He looks like the
That's
kind
Arkansas.
He looks like the kind of guy who would comment on the attractiveness of one's mouth.
So
You gotta purr him out.
So again, there's a restraining order because he whipped a neighbor's kid. This is like a different place that he lived. People would also say there was evidence that Chris was being abused, his step and adoptive son.
Is that from The Hills Have Eyes?
That's
It
that's
honestly
from
looks
Paradise
like-
Lost 2 when they thought that maybe John Mark Byers did it. That's the reenactment guy.
Ooh.
Yeah.
So one question.
Sure.
John Mark Byers.
Yep.
He wasn't the one that legally adopted, right?
Yes. He is Chris's.
There's so many names.
Exactly. And I tried to. Kelly also did me a favor and took a lot of names out. I put a few back in because I felt like they were worth mentioning, especially some of the parents and step parents.
So he legally adopted.
Legally adopted Chris Byers.
Okay.
He was his stepdad.
Yes,
legally adopted.
Okay.
Yes.
Got it.
Cool that he's got an IMDb page.
Damn.
Yeah. Well, he's been in official films. Those documentaries are quite big.
Getting those, what are those called? Those
residuals.
Checks?
Yeah, baby. So when someone finally saw what appeared to be a bite mark in the autopsy. Sorry, I skipped a part here. Later on, Chris's mom would also die in 1996.
Oh, yes, that's right.
Her death was considered undetermined by the coroner. So some people believe that John Mark Byers may have had something to do with both deaths. Likely, probably not. But he is a fucking kooky dude. Greg, see that one that's like 2.5 rows down left of that, where he's just got the hard mullet? It's a profile picture. Yeah,
it's like you said, he's so ridiculous, and he does not do himself any favors.
No, he's just so. I mean, Greg, when I told you to watch Paradise Lost, like, definitely when you watch it, you're gonna text me and be like, "Dude, what the fuck is this guy's deal? You weren't kidding, man!"
That
like,
picture right there.
He's.
Yeah.
I think truly he was just an overly concerned, not very intelligent parent.
Well, and also he kind of gives me narcissist vibes, like
100%.
because he wants to be in the middle of all.
He wanted
of it.
to make it about him a lot.
I don't care that these 3 boys, including my adoptive son, got murdered. I have to be in the picture here.
There's definitely a little bit of that, but he will see. Has probably one of the tightest alibis of any of the adults tied to the case.
He even looks like Stephen Paddock's brother.
So much sushi comped.
Thousands.
One big thing, again, we talk about the bite marks in the autopsy. Now we believe them to be turtle marks, but they look clearly like bite marks. People believe them to be human at first. Someone would see that and point it out. They would also point that John Mark Byers had dentures, and he told people that he didn't get them until after the boys were murdered. But it turns out, or he got them before the boys were murdered. But it turns out he actually didn't get them until 1997. So a lot of people are like, "Oh, he's hiding something." To me, this is just me. I can't remember. When I get something done, if it was 4 years ago, if it were 9 years ago,
yesterday.
And if I lived through some traumatizing event around that time too, I might be like, I think I got it done, the year before. But it was actually 3 years after.
It depends on when you get asked the question, though. Like, when did they ask him this?
I'm not. I think this was just like some people.
Because if they asked him
police or anything,
if they asked him in 1998, when did you get dentures, and he was like 1993, and it was actually like 6 months ago.
Yeah, that's a little weird.
You know what I mean? Like I feel it just depends on when he got asked.
Well, it's like when you go to the doctor and they're like, "Oh, have you had any previous surgeries?" And I'm like,
I don't know.
Yeah, how far back do I really need to go on this?
I'm 36, dude.
Do I need to call my mom?
So, police are going to look into Byers. Amateur sleuths later are going to look hard into Byers. Really hard. Probably harder than anybody.
Wanting it to be him?
Yes. He has one of the best alibis. Basically, he can be accounted for all night. Just, he was with someone or large groups of people the entire night. He did not have time and never really should have been looked at with such scrutiny. Basically, his alibi is ironclad,
which in itself is suspicious.
And they put too much work into something that it was like, yeah. So we're gonna head back to the trial now. Byers gave a knife to somebody with HBO Productions, basically saying, "This was my son's knife," and the blood on one of the knives was consistent with both Chris and himself. So the defense is going to bring him up, but it isn't enough to give the jury reasonable doubt for anything. The boys we're still on Damien. The jury is not coming off of this. They were pretty much brought in to say guilty and get out. The boys were convicted. Damien was sentenced to death and Jason to life in prison. Damien's an adult. Remember, he's 19 years old. He was 18 at the time that committed the crime, so he's been an adult the entire time. He was sentenced to death. Jason to life in prison. And it's super fucking sad. Because, in the first Paradise Lost, you're really right there. You're like, these motherfuckers did it. These pieces of shit kids, dude. Holy shit. I don't really believe the Satanism thing, but I just think wrong place, wrong time. Something got out of hand. And you're like, what the fuck? But when the judge asks if there's any reason the sentence shouldn't be imposed, Jason looks at him crying and just says, because I'm innocent. Damien said them being suspected of the crime would actually work out to the police's advantage. Basically saying, like, yeah, of course. Like, we're the fucking white trash kids who wear black clothes and have long hair and listen to metal in the park or whatever. So the 1996, in the first Paradise Lost documentary, it was released on HBO. The theme song is Sanitarium, and it truly made people question a lot. The boys are going to have post-conviction appeals in 98, 99. I covered enough. Watch at your own risk. Yeah. Amazing documentary, incredibly scarring imagery. They would have retrials in 98, 99, post-conviction appeals. So the way in Arkansas that it works is that you get the same judge from your original trial, which to me seems like that's the exact opposite of what you should do.
Yeah.
But the idea is
backwards in the judicial system.
The idea is that judge should know the case better than any judge could because he already was there presiding over the first one. And if somebody looked over the evidence, they wouldn't know it as well as somebody who was there and lived through it. So, like, the logic is sound.
So they're like, they heard the whole, like, get a fresh set of eyes on this. And we're like, that's fucking stupid.
Listen,
why would we
humans,
do that?
although we believe we are really not capable of being unbiased.
No.
Like, it's hard. It's real hard because sometimes you don't think you are, but you just are. Like, it just is the way we are wired as humans. So to have the same judge preside over their case after being the judge for Jesse Miskelly's case,
that doesn't make
and
sense.
then being their appeals trial judge in both 1998 and 1999. I don't know. It just seems weird to me. So over the years, support is going to build up. Like, because this is a closed case now. So right now, this is public information. Life plus 40 years, life for Jason, death for Damien. The information goes out. So a lot of people start to see this stuff, and a lot of people, famous people, are going to get involved and start adding their time and money. Some of the most prominent, Eddie Vedder and Johnny Depp, like at the top of the list of two dudes who are like, these fucking kids didn't do it. What do we got to do to help get them out? So Eddie Vedder is straight up, like, Eddie Vedder is in west of Memphis. I think he's in the third and second Paradise Lost.
And most notably Pearl Jam.
Yeah.
Not to mention.
Mi nombre es Eddie Vedder. So, the second Paradise Lost documentary gets released. I was trying to combine those words. Meanwhile, Damien was claiming that he was being raped daily on death row.
Jesus.
In 2003, that Vicky lady recanted her testimony. Also, I didn't put it in here, but Damien had a woman who wanted to help with, like, research and stuff. She believed he was innocent. She would eventually end up marrying him in prison. She seems like a pretty legit lady, and, like, without her, this would not have gone where it did. So she, like,
good on her.
You know, there's a lot of weird people about serial killers and shit, and I don't know if she started that way and then realized,
she seems like,
but yes, she's
really legit.
Yes, and she was like in San Francisco and moved to West Memphis, Arkansas, to get her feet on the ground.
Like, I think she truly just saw how fucking ridiculous this whole thing was and said, you know what, I have been called to help this.
Essentially, through over 5,000 letters back and forth, they fell in love and got married.
Dog, I don't even know 5,000 letters.
So, over the years, support's going to build up. We get Eddie Vedder and Johnny Depp. Second movie gets released.
Give money to it too?
No, I mean they got paid.
Did they not? I think they.
At least as of right now, I don't.
Not on this one.
Okay,
but I feel like they've helped out with something.
You're probably
before,
right.
like
You're probably right. But at this point, they've only gotten paid by having Sanitarium.
Sounds like Metallica.
Yeah, for real.
So
we still like you, Papa Het. We still want to take you to Disneyland.
Vicky, 2003. She's going to recant. She is going to claim that she was coerced into testifying. In 2005, Peter Jackson gets involved. Yeah, that Peter Jackson, Lord of the Rings leader Peter Jackson, like the dude. He and his wife helped fund a lot of new testing and paid for experts from several different fields. They got, Greg, you'll appreciate this, motherfucking John Douglas, the mine hunter. Oh. He was the officer and person who essentially created the behavioral sciences division of the FBI.
I do like that.
Yeah.
That's like
they made a TV show about him. We probably lots of you guys saw it.
Right.
But yes, this is that dude. He was on this case. He was paid for by Peter Jackson to look into this case to help Damian Eccles and Jason Baldwin. So in 2007, they held a press conference to present new evidence that they had found. They presented the stuff about what they had found about the mutilation and it being turtles. They also said, look, we've got some DNA evidence. We have jury misconduct. And they knew that the jury foreman was incredibly biased against the boys before the trial even began. Also, a hair found in one of the shoelaces that one of the boy was bound with contained a hair that matched Terry Hobbs, the stepfather of Stevie, inside the knot. Very hard for a hair to end up inside a knot.
Blowing in the wind, and it just so happens to get caught there.
Pretty fucking wild.
Dude, there were so many, rockers involved in this shit.
Yeah, Henry Rollins was real big behind it.
First of all, again, just to call out Metallica, Lars said they lent their music to the movie Paradise Lost.
So they just gave it to him.
And he said it was the least we could do, says Lars Ulrich. It literally was the least they could do.
Thanks, Metallica.
But Ozzy, Lemmy.
Lemmy?
They did. Dude, in 2003, there was a gigantic benefit concert.
There was a couple of them.
Yeah.
Lemmy and Tom Waits.
I didn't realize Lemmy had
Patti Smith, Ozzy.
Henry Rollins was like one of the dudes who got everybody together for it.
I knew Metallica did something.
They were like, I guess you could use that song for free.
Go ahead, I guess.
So the big thing to me is that this is a lot of new evidence. There's a hair that belongs to one of the stepfathers. They're inside the knot. There is clearly what appears to be turtle bites.
Did they do the hair thing after they got the DNA more?
That's how they figured out it was Terry Hobbs' DNA, right?
Okay.
Because Terry Hobbs, and the way they got Terry Hobbs' DNA is they had hired a PI who went and talked to him and stole a cigarette butt.
Oh, good on
So
you.
basically, that's not admissible. So they needed to get him. So they knew that the hair matched. Not admissible, but they needed him to just say, "Yeah, I'll do a DNA test," so that they could clear his name or use it, and he refused the DNA test.
Of course he did.
So, let's see. So the one person possibly last seen with the boys alive, and remember we talked about Jamie Ballard, the neighbor who saw him. Jamie remembers it because her family every single Wednesday night went to church and they left at 6:30. So they did youth group or whatever. And she remembers seeing all three boys, one of them on a bike, two following behind on foot, and Terry Hobbs following them up the street, hollering for them to come back. So basically the last person that's going to see them alive is Jamie Ballard.
Terry.
In 2009, Terry Hobbs sued the Dixie Chicks, Natalie Maines, for defamation. She had become a supporter of the West Memphis Three and at some point mentioned some of the weird stuff surrounding Hobbs. She never said, Terry Hobbs did that shit, but, she definitely, was like, yeah, some of this stuff kind of points that way. Question number 11. How much was Natalie Maines forced to pay Terry Hobbs for the defamation suit? Was it A, an undisclosed amount with an NDA, $1 million, $5 million, or he actually lost the case and was paid nothing? An undisclosed amount with an NDA, $1 million, $5 million, or D. And what I would do here, we're getting down to the wire. You guys are close in scores. I'd start writing your answers.
Yeah, it's 1250 to 1000.
Because you're definitely going to want to play the strategy game, and you're not going to want to give somebody what your answer is coming down to the wire here. Because you guys got a long drive home together. And,
I'm going to push your ass out of the truck.
Guess I'm walking.
That's okay. Loki will go with you. Okay, what do you guys think? How much was Natalie Maines forced to pay Terry Hobbs?
I'm going with that he lost.
He lost.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
I don't think he could prove that she said
lost.
actually.
See, that's not how you get ahead in the game. You're playing great defense, but that's not how you get ahead in the game. You got to answer different.
Well, I answered first, so...
But I wrote it down, so that means
I wrote
thought
my
it.
shit down, too.
That's why we do it. Okay, so both you guys are correct and get 250 points. He did not win the trial. The lawsuit ensured, however, that he would have to answer several questions about his character under oath. So they couldn't get him on the stand. They couldn't get him to admit to the hair being found by the private eye, the DNA evidence. But under oath, it would come out that he beat Stevie's mom fairly regularly and at one point shot her brother, his brother-in-law, for getting involved. He's also asked about an incident before Stevie was killed about he beat his wife for, quote, kissing a Mexican in their house.
Oh my God.
Yeah. He still seemed pretty upset about it.
Seems
even
like a real
answering,
scumbag.
Yeah, he seemed pretty upset about it, even answering their questions all those years later. Also, when you see, like, because this is available, you watch The West of Memphis. Can't remember if it's any of the Paradise Lost, but they ask questions about, like, him beating, and he's just like, yeah, that's what she says. Oh. Like, just the most pretentious fuck of all time, dude. And they'll be like, did you read the report that she wrote? And he's like, no, I didn't read it. And they're like, well, why? He's like, well, it don't matter to me none. Yeah. And they're like, why doesn't it matter to you? He's like, because nothing she says means anything to me.
That's code for I can't read. I know that because I say the same thing.
So, I mean, like, again, I put it out there early. Like, if I had to put money on it, I would bet Terry Hobbs. I'm not a detective. I just watched some documentaries that sort of made me feel that way. But
so you're saying this isn't one of those true crime podcasts that solves the case?
Oh, absolutely not. Remember, if you're using this show for research, don't. Absolutely not. Not the place. Not the place, guys. Entertainment. That's why comedy's first on the list, all right? And we're not even funny either. So if you're coming to the show to laugh, don't.
I'm so sorry.
So, he beats his wife for kissing a Mexican and for other assorted issues. At one point, he told Stevie's mom, I don't get mad, I get even. Also, it should be pointed out that,
what a badass.
Terry, a lot of character witnesses around Terry claim that he never liked Stevie. It's his stepson. He's got a daughter in Amanda. He loved her. He adored her. And he really wanted nothing to fucking do with Stevie other than, like, having to provide for him what it was that he provided them. So, Terry's alibi witness from that night does not corroborate any of what his story really is either, because he says, I realized he was missing. I went out and I looked all night. I went home. I picked up Pam. I called the police at Catfish Island, and we made a report from there. So there's a man named David Jacoby. He is a friend of Terry's. David Jacoby would also have a single hair found at the crime, not inside the knot, but like nearby. It's one of the new pieces of evidence that they would find later when DNA testing was possible. Terry said to have stopped here during the search for the boys, and he claimed that he stopped, grabbed David for help, and continued on their search. David Jacoby, however, claims that they actually sat around for about an hour learning a guitar part that David was struggling with. After that, Terry would leave with Amanda, and David would actually stay. Pam said to Terry, Pam would say after Terry picked her up, he was wearing different clothes than when he had dropped her off. And this was very uncommon. Terry wasn't a dude who was like into changing outfits midday.
Well, and was he learning the guitar part while his child was missing?
Yeah, that's exactly that's what David Jacoby's saying.
Oh, hey,
he came over and it was Pretty Woman.
I was going to say, was it Sanitarium?
Like, honestly?
Yeah. So
it's not even a hard part. That should be pretty easy to learn if you can play the guitar.
Well, maybe David Jacoby was fairly new to guitar and was just trying to pick it up. But yeah, so yeah, Terry Hobbs said, I went. I said, Dave, my son's missing. Come fucking help me find him.
Let me learn this
David
first.
Jacoby says, no, he came over, taught me a couple licks on guitar, and dipped out, and I stayed home. I never went out with him and looked.
He just went over there to kill time.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So there's several fishy things, but first is that he's never seriously been considered a suspect. I know. With everything that had come out over the years of the West Memphis 3, they asked if they'd be allowed to present their new evidence, right? They've got a couple new hairs. They've got the turtle expert.
Herpetologist.
Yep. They also have Vincent DeMaio, who was quoted by Fuckface Peretti at the beginning as, oh, I know him. Yeah. And DeMaio was like, he's incorrect, and he doesn't know shit.
Lies, all of them.
So who gets to decide whether or not they can bring in the new DNA evidence?
That judge.
Same judge. Same fucking judge.
I know it's not, but I keep picturing the judge from My Cousin Vinny, Herman Munster.
Oh, yeah. Fred Gwynn?
Yeah, I just, for whatever reason, in my head, he's the judge.
It much more curmudgeonly.
Well, I mean, in my head, that's who's playing.
Okay, all right. I like that. I'll take that because I like Fred Gwynn. Rest in peace. The judge who had originally sentenced them said no, believe it or not.
Wow.
So they appealed to the Arkansas Supreme Court, and tried really hard to fight it, but in a 2010 decision, the Arkansas Supreme Court did not allow them a new trial. There's footage of them arguing it, and at one point, the Supreme Court justice says, "What harm is there in allowing them to present all of the new evidence?" And basically, the state's like, doesn't matter. They don't get to. They already
It'll
had
make
it.
us look dumb.
Pretty much.
did
So
our job.
after the Supreme Court decision, a new trial was scheduled for December of 2011. Basically, the Supreme Court overturned it. It's going to give them a new trial. Said this judge is a fucking asshole. We'll get you guys set up. It was actually pushed back several times. It was set for like July, then September, then pushed back to December of 2011.
Do you know if somebody like made their career off this case?
Yes, several people, and that's the
pushback.
That's the idea.
Overturned.
Well, okay, so John Fogelman was one of the big ones, and at the time of this being overturned, he was running for I can't remember, some political spot, and then the Judge Fuckface, he's looking for a state senator seat.
They can't afford to have this shit overturned.
Yes, so
So 3 people go down for 2 political careers.
While the person who really did this is still living his life.
Right. So
And suing the Dixie Chicks.
There's
And living.
After the Supreme Court decision, a new trial will be scheduled for December 2011. All new evidence would be allowed to be presented. On August 19th, 2011, a surprise hearing was called, and a new judge, not the same old piece of shit, accepted Alford pleas from all 3 men. So the new judge had been elected to state senate, and they were like stoked. Like, sucks that guy is the fucking state senator, but it means he's not our judge anymore. John Fogelman, the lead prosecutor, I can't remember what he was running for, got crushed in his election. So he lost hard as fuck.
Good.
But he had to give up his prosecutor position in order to run. So he was no longer the prosecutor and got defeated.
Karma.
A little bit. Sounds like it.
An Alford plea, because I can't explain it any better than, the definition, is in the United States law, an Alford plea, also called a Kennedy plea in West Virginia, an Alford guilty plea, and an Alford doctrine is a guilty plea in a criminal court whereby a defendant in a criminal case does not admit to the criminal act and asserts innocence, but admits that the evidence presented by the prosecution would likely persuade a judge or jury to find the defendant guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. This can be caused by circumstantial evidence and testimony favoring the prosecution and difficulty finding evidence and witnesses that would aid the defense. Alford pleas are legally permissible in nearly all U.S. federal and state courts, except in the state courts of Indiana, Michigan, and New Jersey, or in the courts of the United States Armed Forces. They maintained their innocence but pled guilty and were sentenced to time served. So there's 2 big things about this. The new prosecutor said, okay, I'll let you do this Alford plea if it's all 3 of them. I don't want 1. I don't want 2 Alford pleas. If I don't get all 3, none of them are on the table. So it goes to Jesse Miskelly. He's like, done. Yeah, fuck yeah, let's go. It gets to Damian Eccles. He's like, yeah, all right, let's go. It gets to Jason Baldwin, and he's like, no, I'm not guilty. I'm not going to say I'm guilty. I don't care what this Alford plea means. I'll fight this to my last dying breath. I'm not fucking doing it. And so basically it goes back and forth. His attorneys, he gets to talk to Damian about it. And basically he would say in the end that he realized that it's not just about him anymore. Like, this is about so much more. It's about other people. It's about, it's bigger than just him.
Right.
So
it's not his case.
Right. So the second part was that the defense attorney said, okay, when they put in Alford pleas and you let them out, we don't want them out in 2 months or 6 months. They leave that fucking day. So this is a surprise trial, remember. So the media is outside and shit, and they're like, what's going on in there? What's popping up? And so they see the boys come walking out free. They like put their hands up. They're not cuffed behind, and the crowd like goes wild. Obviously, the West Memphis 3 has gained quite a bit of notoriety at this point. Question number 12 and the final. What's the score, Greg?
It is 1,500 to 1,250.
Paige behind?
Yeah, Danielle is in the lead.
Okay, Paige.
Yes.
If you're the closest to this answer, you will tie up the game, and it'll send it to an artistic challenge. You don't have to be artistic to win an artistic challenge. You have to pander to your judge, who is Greg. Okay. If you aren't the closest, the winner will go to Danielle today. Okay. If somehow you nail the answer, you have won today. Okay. If somehow you nail the answer, there's no way for Paige to come back.
Uh-oh.
Well, if you answer correct at all.
That's right. That's true.
If you answer correct and she nails it,
This
you
one,
wouldn't be correct because it's closest to.
I will admit is unlikely to be nailed, but someone is getting 250 points. So if it is you, Paige, we go to a tie.
Okay.
We go to our second artistic challenge of the day.
Got it.
Or of the season, sorry. Question number 12 and the last. How long did the boys spend in prison and jail? Give me years and days.
Oh, God.
I stopped kind of mentioning dates towards the end there to really mess with you guys. Give me the amount of years and days. They got time served for their Alford plea. How long was that? All of them were arrested on the same day. None of them had a free day until this Alford plea was put in. How many years and days did they spend in prison?
Yeah, don't.
Is
That'd
it
be
all
really
of them
embarrassing.
together, or just like?
No. Like what? So they all spent this exact same amount of time in. Yeah. Well, how long was? Yeah, because they were all arrested on the same day, and none of them were ever free.
Oh, I thought what's his name was in first, and then the other two got.
But the other two were still in jail or prison at that
Gotcha.
time. Yeah. He was sentenced first, correct? He went to prison first. The other two were just in jail and it was only 2 weeks.
Oh,
Okay,
God.
you got it. You got your answer.
I guess.
All right, write it down. Write it down for the thrill.
For dramatic effect.
Give me no. Give me years and days.
That ought to tell you there's no months.
Or does it?
Because if
you 18 years, 192 days, maybe I just want to confuse the shit out of you.
I was gonna say if you give me some shit like that and.
Yeah, earlier
Like
I asked you on a scale of 1 to 10, and the answer was 11.
Yeah.
You just never know, buddy.
The years and days form?
Yeah.
Or like,
Yeah. How many years and days?
I have no idea.
And Greg is correct. Maybe there was a clue. Maybe it means there are no months. Maybe it doesn't. Do you trust Greg enough to take that advice?
Like, am I doing like
not a good idea.
Like years?
Like, let's say they spent 40 years and 106 days. You know, give me how many years and
40
days.
years and 31 days, and it's fucking or 32 days. January's only got 31.
I don't know.
No months.
10 years and 45 days.
24 years and 180 days.
It's going to be Danielle.
Yep.
Because the boys spent 18 years, 78 days. You fucker. There were months, you piece of shit. 18 years, 78 days. The three men would walk out of the courtroom, free men on that day. This allowed the state to say the case was closed. They had pled guilty. It also ensures that they can never sue the state. So they will get no, generally, if you're
So
you
they were
spent
like,
18 years wrongfully in prison, the state's going to pay you. It may only be $200,000. It may be $10 million. Depends on how good your lawyer is. These guys cannot do that. They said, we understand that you probably have what it takes to be guilty, although we say we are innocent.
That just tells me that they're like, oh, we fucked up.
Yeah.
So you can't call us on our shit.
Well, that's
now.
basically it. It's like, hey, this new trial's coming up, and I don't know if we got, with this new evidence, I don't know if we got enough to put them away again.
Yeah.
And so instead of taking that chance, the guys were like, yeah, we'll take that fucking deal.
They made it seem like they could have, like they wouldn't have had a chance on trial. Where if they had gone to trial, they probably would have been found.
But you don't want to roll those dice.
No.
You already been railroaded
Well, I was going to
before.
say, when between the three of you, you struggle to read the plea deal in front of you.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, Damien actually highly intelligent.
Yeah, he's
very
smart.
poor, very white trash at its finest degree. Highly intelligent.
He wrote
He's
a
actually
book,
a book.
right?
He writes, Magic with a K. I know.
yeah.
Damien Eccles writes lots of books on magic with a K.
Did he not write a book, though, about this whole experience?
I don't
With
know.
the letters from his wife and everything?
Probably so. That sounds right, because I remember them talking about something like that. But definitely most of his books are about magic with a K.
Yeah.
Cool magic, though.
And I feel like that didn't they use that too as part of the defense, where they were like, oh, he's into this. and
Because he
so-
had journals. So they went through his journals, and he had written some violent stuff. But
why
he
you don't
wrote,
write stuff down.
He wrote fiction, He wrote fiction, and they took it as reality.
DOD stuff
And that's what I
and all
mean about this being, we could do an entire 2-hour episode on the discovery of Damien's journal and what was inside. Like, this case is so deep. Watch these documentaries. They're you can't even do it in one night. I think total it's like 11 or 12 hours with the
It's a lot of
documentaries for the
info.
full.
Challenge accepted.
Right. But if you want to get in the case, like, you don't need to do any reading. Watch The Three Paradise Lost, then watch West of Memphis, because they kind of go best in that order, in my opinion. And you'll have a good old fucking time. So congratulations, Danielle, again on your
Good
victory.
job, Danielle.
So they can't sue if you don't think that's fair. Yeah, it's another idea that anyone else except the state of Arkansas doesn't. Duh. Arkansas isn't that much different now. The crime's still nothing's changed. The judge who convicted them and denied all their appeals became a state senator. Right. There's still a lot of people that think they still did it, including some of the original jurors. They say that Damien smiled and waved during the trial, and no one innocent would ever do that. He definitely did do these things. We talked about that, but he literally didn't believe he could be convicted of something. That
I was going to say, why would you take that seriously? Because if you have faith in the justice system.
Damien says, most people think this case is special. It's not. This case is nothing out of the ordinary, and this happens all the time. So he's saying, that's great that we got out and there was a lot of support behind us and we had some pretty powerful people come in and give us a hand, but we're not alone. And this is not a singular story. This is happening constantly. That's a mature outlook to take instead of just being yeah, we're free, suck it. And, he seems like
He's very intelligent.
Jason and Jesse are they're gone. And I'm not saying that Damien is up in the spot, but he wrote books and he do interviews and stuff every now and again. He seems he's adjusted quite well, and he's a very, I think passionate is a very good word. Because normally if someone wrote books about magic with a K, I'd be no, thank you. But I truly I see Damien Eccles and some of that stuff post, getting out of prison. I'm seems like a pretty good dude. For all he's been through, I would be so fucking bitter that I'd probably be burning down the prison or something. You know what I mean?
Well, and it's he, not that anybody deserves to get convicted of something that they didn't do, especially with children. I think he was meant to do that so that he could share his side and say, look, this happened, like he said, but we're not the only ones. So maybe he can really start to help those other people.
I think that's kind of what he does now too, besides write books about magic with a K.
Magic.
He's pretty funny and still has a good attitude despite everything that happened to him. He said, quote, I always knew I was going to be the greatest magician. I just didn't know that I would have 20 years to practice and study. He's still into magic with a K, has written several books on the subject, and in January of 22, Damien's attorneys filed a petition for new DNA testing. They said that the law allows it isn't applicable to him because he is no longer in jail. His attorneys argued that his status of guilty should apply in or out of jail. So basically, he's still got attorneys trying to get even the Alford plea overturned by showing that they are truly innocent. And the state of Arkansas is well, they're not even in jail anymore.
That's not the point.
And that's what his attorneys continue to
principles,
maintain.
Jerry.
Yes.
You should be happy with your Alford plea. You're not in jail.
Look, we let you guys come out, so why let you guys get out? Why are we going to help you?
Right. So, the state argues that nothing, or that
what are you going to do? Sue us? Can't.
His lawyers will argue that nothing will be found if the testing isn't done. So, we can't find anything if there's no testing done, and the state appeals. The state denies the appeal. In January of 2023, this year, Damien's attorneys asked the state Supreme Court to re-examine evidence, and we're still waiting on a decision from that. So, until that, it remains a solved case, which is great due to the fact that it was solved in prison. People were able to get the information. Essentially, it was the first crowdsourced web sleuth thing that people dove into in the mid 90s and really helped from the outside. They didn't solve this case because there's still somebody that did this out there, but they did get three innocent dudes out of prison, which is kind of a huge fucking deal. So, again, Patreon shout out for this episode. Thank you, Danae, for giving to the show. We appreciate that. Anything you guys want to share before we get out of here? Any closing words?
I just hope that Terry gets sick every single day for the rest of his life.
You hear that, Terry Haas? We hope you're wearing socks and step in a puddle.
Don't drop the soap, babe. Don't drop the soap.
And Vicky sucks.
And Vicky sucks.
Vicky also sucks. Thanks for recanting fucking 18 years later, Vicky.
Wow. God, you felt bad.
It was 10 years.
That
Fuck
Vicky's
that
the devil.
occult guy.
Yeah, and fuck the occult expert. I didn't even put his name in here and I can't remember it, but good, I'm
Who cares?
fucking glad.
He doesn't deserve a name.
Again, like we said at the beginning, you guys can find us on Instagram and TikTok. We're fucking around there. You can call us 1-805-666-2513. You can text us there as well. Threadless store for clothing. Our website for stickers and keychains. That's serialchillerspod.com. All the information is all there. Serialchillerspod.com will take you everywhere we are. Join the Discord if you guys want to hang out with us. I keep seeing people come in new every week. I love it.
We promise we won't leak documents.
Yeah, exactly. If you guys want to talk true crime, if you want to talk about food, if you like pot, if you like video games, if you like books, if you like sports, we literally have parts of the Discord that are for all of those things. And if you just want to chat with someone, same shit. Like, we're always there. Greg and I played, and tonight we're gonna play some more Gang Beasts. But
we are. I forgot.
Yeah.
Fucking excited.
Yes, we're gonna be doing some. We play a lot of video games. We have a lot of fun. We'll do movie nights where everybody jumps into Discord. We could all watch a movie at one time. We kind of Mystery Science Theater 3000 that thing. And, it's a good time through and through. P.O. Box 1229, Clovis, California, 93613. Remember, danger level above 7.5. Attention, hella Greg. Greg, anything you want to throw out there, buddy, before the end of the show here now, pal?
SerialChillersPod.com for all your soft goods. LonelyFans with 2Zs.com for all your hard goods.
Loki, any last words?
Loki? Anything?
Are you gonna speak?
Speak.
What is it?
Who is it?
A little shy. I get it.
Little shy, that's okay.
There he goes.
Oof.
Who is it?
There it is.
All right, Loki, there's a good boy. Well then, for Loki, for Paige, for Danielle, for Hello Greg, I'm Cromulent Jesse. Remember, don't talk to strangers. Bye.
Good job, Loki Pokey.
Do it, guys.
That was fun.
Thanks. I'm glad you guys had fun. I think so. Shit.
No, that.
Jack sucked. It only looked cool from the outside.
Yeah.
If anybody is listening, Ryan Hall, your restaurant is the worst fucking place to work. I love you, Ryan, but my God, I will never get over working.
God damn it.
at
Urban
Jack's.
fries are so good, though.
They're so good. And that buffalo sandwich.
Should I
Jesse,
leave
I'll
this
fuck with the
in?
banh mi sandwich,
Leave it
too.
in.
Should I just cut this and put it at the end of the episode?
Like,
so
just
that-
like cut me and put it in there. Like, for real. But
I
no.
Deal.
would go see her all the time, and she'd be like, I fucking hate my
Like,
job.
kill me,
I mean, I
please.
ate there like 4 days a week.
Yeah, I hooked Jesse up
would-
with chicken strips
Yeah.
all the time, and then I'd go
So
in and get some socks.
Yeah, we had a good little deal going on.
Yeah, we had a good little backstage there, but it just fuck that place.
I kind of want to go get some urban fries.
Me too. Fuck that place, but let's go get some.
Yeah, for
fries.
real. You don't have to make them anymore.
Yeah.
I've got a fierce case of the munchies. So.
Yeah.